got to be honest. I'm a little disappointed with you boys'.
Halloween spirit.
Yeah. So okay. So you're wearing the Island
of Horror shirt.
Okay. All right.
Treehouse Horror.
Say it into the mic.
House of Horror
Yeah.
shirt.
Okay. All right. All right. No oranges or anything like that.
There's orange on my shirt. As a
There
youth,
is.
There's orange on my shirt.
as a youth, I was never really a dresser-upper for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I would always just throw on a football jersey, maybe a helmet, and that was
God.
it.
That's bad.
That's the way to start
For
this
your
episode.
character.
Hello, and welcome.
No, more high energy.
Hello.
It's Halloween. Or no, spooky energy, sorry.
Hello.
No, scarier.
Hello.
Yeah, that was good.
Welcome to another episode of Funbearable. I am Brad Rohr.
I'm Ray Harrington. Psych. It's a costume. Harrington.
I'm spook me until I ooze Staten.
Oh, I want to do mine over.
All right, do yours over.
I want to make mine more sexual.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Ray. I put Blue Chews in with the candy this year for the kids, and now they're referring to it as Randy Corn Harrington.
It's a long.
Listen. I pulled it right out of my ass. I
Yeah.
pulled
So
it out of the cuff of this Halloween flannel.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we agreed that we're going to do less children and erection together jokes.
we did say that
right before we
We
started.
talked about it, but we didn't agree.
I remember a strong 2 against 1.
Yeah. And Brad, I think it's interesting that your costume this year is what you're wearing right now.
Yes.
And it's the Big C?
Yes. What's more frightening than the big C?
You know what? Actually, your cold, dead eyes, your pale and pasty demeanor. I am the ghost of Big C future.
The doctor's chart you have that you keep showing people. That's also, it's interesting that I remember last year you wanted to do this costume, and we had to explain to you that the Big C refers to cancer, not the other one, not the other C word.
Candy.
I don't think it's that one.
I'll say I have a different shirt, at least, for our porch recording.
Okay, great.
when
Our
that
official
comes up.
Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Porch cording.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can let the listeners in on this. We, last year we did 2 episodes of franchise flashback for the
Yeah.
Halloween series. Then we did a casual Halloween. I Pity the Ghoul.
Halloween cash.
Yep. And we did an official Halloween. And this year we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll always do the same thing, but this year we are.
Yeah.
And it just
We might
happened-
not even be a podcast next year.
Oh,
Wow,
it's
we might
likely.
be. What were we going to be?
There's a few options here. Something happens with us. One really good thing happens to only one of us.
Oh, boy.
I know who that's going to
Yeah,
be.
me too.
A really bad thing happens to one of us.
I also know that.
Or all of us. Yeah.
Wait, medical or life?
Both. There's also another option.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
The internet could not exist in some shape or
That's
form.
probably true.
Honestly, that would be pretty great.
Yeah, that'd be
Or
good.
what is maybe most likely, something so bad happens in the world in October or late September.
Right.
Where everyone's like, well, we can't. That's just, and we get together and we're like, it would be in poor taste for
Do you know,
us.
I feel like we're on the cusp of that.
Oh, for sure.
I felt like that last night.
Yeah.
I was like, let me look up scary stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is
Oh,
real
no,
stuff
the
that's
world.
happening.
I was thinking about it too, where we talked about covering some like horror movie stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the idea of like horror movies.
Yeah.
And like, ooh, let's get scared.
Yeah.
Right. And as kids, it was like, let's watch this thing because that's scary. Because what if Jason is a real man?
Yeah.
Right. It's like that's so scary.
Yeah.
But now it's like, what's horrifying
Yeah.
is so different. It's like, well, there's ethnic cleansing. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Here's a positively macabre idea, right? Global warming, right? Like that. It's different because now, like Freddy Krueger does it like, hey, bitch, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't scare me. I'd be like, hey,
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
hey, bitch.
There was a whole book about the idea. I remember that someone had either got this for me. I don't remember this. There's like zombies in the cover, and it's basically about the horror movies that were the biggest have coincided with some of the harshest
Right.
real life stuff
Yeah.
because people get to take their fear and put it in a place that's fictional.
Exactly. But how do you manifest that in a horror film?
Or how do
when-
you make the awful things happen in the world to make your horror movie successful?
Oh, no.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So are you saying that the Israel-Palestine conflict is so there can be a District 9-2?
So there can be a Saw XI.
Oh, no. But what I was going to say was the idea of like that stuff doesn't scare me. A Freddy doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
But what scares, like now, and I don't know how you can make this a horror movie, but like the idea of finding out on a random Tuesday that like a Mormon TikTok momfluencer burned down 700 acres of protected wildlands for a gender reveal party.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
how do you?
Right.
Because that's horrifying.
Yes, sure.
That's truly spine-tingling terror, right?
My spine
But how
was
do
burned
you?
in the
What do you do
accident.
with that?
That
I
brings
agree.
your.
How do you deal with the horror of the fact that the slap heard round the world is now revealed to have been a couple that was separated since 2016?
That's true.
Also, follow-up question: was the election part of the breakup?
It
was 2016.
It was certainly the catalyst, I think.
And if it was, where do you think Will and Jada land on a vote in 2016?
Oh boy.
This is some spooky territory.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I wish you had brought all these things up before we put all our money in that traditional haunted house.
Yeah, we were going to do a different
Chainsaw
one.
guy and a ghost, and now
But
it feels like all those
doesn't
things
the information
aren't frightening.
revealed that Jada and Will have been separated since 2016? Doesn't that really make you go, "What was that about then?"
I don't know. I think that gives me more insight to it.
Yeah.
Because I think that he wants to be with her and he's trying to prove that he's like a provider and a man and a piece of shit.
And you know what sucks? All he has to do
the three things a woman wants.
all he has to do is simply create a hit song.
Yep.
It's true. Hey,
know?
hey, if anyone can,
It's Will.
yeah.
What was
that's
that
right.
sound?
That's like a little sound I make once in a while.
That's Will Smith greasing up his slap hand.
Yeah.
Where's Chris? And he's gonna hit him. Oh, he's gonna hit him hard.
Yeah.
I would say the way they fall on the vote is
It depends on. I mean, they're pretty. From what it seems like on the outside.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like if you're rich and you're selfish, you vote Republican because it saves you a couple pennies every year.
Sure.
That's kind of how I really feel.
Yeah.
That's boiled down, of course.
Yeah.
There's shades of gray. But if you're a rich philanthropist, kind of like
philanderer is what you're looking for. Yeah.
believe in humanity, then
Yeah.
maybe you can kind of keep the views of the people. But
I think Will votes however Scientology tells him to vote.
Well, see, this was going to be my joke like 2.5 minutes ago.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Because I did the setup part.
Yeah,
and
where do they
then
fall
You
on a
guys
vote?
did
Yeah.
the punchlines. Was the I think that Jada
Okay.
reluctantly votes for Biden.
Okay.
And then Will
As most of us did.
Yeah. And then Will looks at Jada and goes, "Which one?"
yeah,
And then
that's
Jada
right.
goes, like, gives him a look.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then he votes however.
Imagine.
Well, in 2016, it would have been Hillary.
Right.
And what if?
right.
Oh, right.
Yes.
It wasn't Biden. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, no. Jada wrote in Biden. Yeah.
Imagine I know doesn't make a lot of sense, but imagine Will Smith slapping Biden. That would have been an international incident.
That would have been just a national incident.
Then the vice president would be president.
This was all to get Kamala Harris into the Oval Office. Yeah.
I don't know.
We had fun, folks.
That was
Thanks for
good.
listening. You can hit us up on our socials,
Yeah,
right?
you
Sorry.
can-
We have a mean habit of doing like our own little mini episode to start the episode.
That's okay. I think it's
No,
fun.
it's fine.
We're
It's
jumping
fine.
in. But I want to thank everybody for checking out the Saw franchise
Oh,
flashbacks
yeah.
that we've done this month.
And apologize.
I will say our highest viewed and listened to episodes are the franchise flashback ones historically.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, there's such a clear theme and there's a fandom. I wanted to say this. If anyone out there who's a listener of Funbearable, when we do something, like every week we talk about different things that are, in pop culture or whatever. If you ever want to take that and post it to Facebook groups that have to do with it,
Sure.
Reddit, subreddits that have to do with it, it really helps a lot.
Sure.
It's hard to make that a priority because I did it for Saw and I did it for Halloween.
Yeah.
And it really does get new listeners on board. So if anyone who's a listener wants to do that, that would be huge and we'd appreciate it. Because every week we do just talk about random stuff that can be pulled into those categories.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
places.
And I think what scares me is the idea of a like real dyed-in-the-wool fandom of Saw.
No, that doesn't scare me.
I think being like,
I don't think
saying
anyone-
like, oh, a new Saw movie's coming out. I'm excited. Like the two of you insanos were doing. That's fine.
Captain
Captain
Insanos.
Insanos.
Okay, sorry. You both share the same title. Wow.
We came up through the ranks at the same time.
But how do I go over one of your heads?
Do you remember? Do you know why we just said that?
No, I don't.
In
Waterboy.
Waterboy,
Oh, okay.
the Big Show, the huge wrestler, was in it, and he loved Captain Insano.
Yeah.
That was his name, and you said Insano, which is
Yeah.
pretty specific.
Yeah.
So
I think honestly, I think Paul White, the Big Show, is wrestling in AEW as Captain Insano, or has appeared as Captain Insano.
Oh, that's
like
very
recently.
cool. I like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Captain Insano. Like, it's hard to do the Waterboy voice, but you know that's what
Yeah.
it says.
We are
Just
Insanos.
socially, publicly.
So we are excited about the Saw movies. You are frightened that people who are really into the Saw movies.
Oh, what I was saying, yeah, because
I'm
that was
not.
going to be a joke too. But it's fine, it's done. Halloween is happening.
Halloween
Let's
is
be Halloween.
I
boys.
haven't checked, but as of yesterday, it's still on this year.
Yeah, so far,
Right.
yeah.
So we're doing our Halloween casual episode. We got a few fun things.
It's cash, folks. It's cash.
I did want to
That's
say.
what the C stands for.
That's
did
what
wanna
this
say-
unbuttoned flannel is about.
I got a little fun thing to say, and I don't know if it's that tied to Halloween, but I twisted it to make it tied to Halloween.
Oh, good.
There's a great listener of Funbearable, a great artist named Kenny Rubenis.
Yeah.
I think he's in the Netherlands.
I believe it's Rubenis.
Oh, it's Rubenis.
I think it's Rubenis.
I think in the Netherlands it's Rubenis, but he's in America visiting.
So it should be
Rubenis.
Rubenis.
But people always
Rubenis.
say Kenny
Yeah.
Rubenis with the fake face like an anus.
I don't think
So I
they
don't like
always
that.
say that.
Yeah, I don't like that. I like Rubanus.
I know you do.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know you're friends.
Yeah.
If you rub anuses. Right? Because these days you can't be blood brothers.
All kinds of diseases.
There's pathogens, folks. In the age of pandemic, you can't be blood brothers.
What you wanna
but
do
you can
instead.
rub anuses.
It'd be so. If, you know
This
what?
is our
I think if-
health
if-
information.
If we were to saw trap and they're like, all you have to do is somehow touch your anuses to each other, I don't know if we
Ooh,
can do it.
That would be difficult. What you need is a couple of real flat asses.
We need flat asses and mirrors. Mirrors.
No,
We
I
could
think
just-
you could tell when it's like
just-
connected.
No, I can't.
It's like the two spaceships. There is a thing called docking.
Yeah.
But that's different.
I
That's
think
front seas.
I have a feeling that
Here
Brad-
we are talking about docking
with
on
Brad's
Halloween.
anus, he could dock into somebody else's
Oh
anus.
yeah. Oh yeah. There is a let's just say
There's
a
some picture.
particular piece of clothing that maybe goes on your foot before your sneaker.
Anyway, Kenny is in town, huh?
I remember one time I referred to my anus lips, and man, it went really poorly.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's a Muppet I don't want to see.
Anus lips. So
He's teaching us to count to 12.
it's like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 11, 12. So where's that pinball going now?
where to go?
Oh,
I
it's
looked away
gone.
for a second.
He elephanted it.
You guys are going to make me cut this as part of a clip.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you guys are going to make me come.
You're sick, Brad.
I genuinely thought that's where it was going.
Cut the clip before that.
If he was like, what should I say for a joke? And he's like, I know. You guys are going to make me come.
Yeah. That's how I got kicked out of that church.
So Kenny's in town.
So docking anuses aside, Brad's loose lips, sinking chips. He came to town and he said, "Hey man," he's like, "What do you think about meeting me on Staten Island and picking me up and taking me to the Tell 'em Steve Dave studios and meeting Walt and Brian, the guys that I work with, he works with. He's done a lot of great art for Tell 'em Steve Dave. He's done a lot of great art for Funbearable, obviously,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the best." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" So I picked him up. I met him once 5 years ago for like a couple minutes. Picked him up. Him and his buddy.
He's a total asshole. Can you imagine if the whole story was like, This guy.
No, he was awesome, and it was him and his buddy Dito, who was really, really nice. And we went to the studio. We had a great time. We went out to dinner, and awesome day, very fun. Just friends having fun. Not a lot of big stories, just joking around. Shocked at how great their English was for both of them. Crazy. Because,
Well, hey, listen to this.
right?
So they only need like 5 words.
I think the issue is
2 of which are anus.
They in America, we're always like, wow, multilingual, right?
Yes.
And then everyone everywhere else is like, they only speak English.
Yeah.
You know what's
It's
funny
crazy.
though? They know so many like weird colloquialisms that you'd think like, I don't know, it's kind of like what are you
TV.
talking about? Like they say stuff like that.
TV.
Well, he kept telling me to sit on it again.
Yeah, he kept going, hey.
You know what's funny? We pulled
He
into
kept telling me to sit on it. What was he pointing at?
his anus.
His anus.
And we went into a plaza that had we were going to get water ice in Staten Island, but it had like a Dollar Tree, a McDonald's, a Wendy's, whatever. And they were like, wow. And I'm like, what? They're like, this is so American. Like, it was a shopping plaza.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's funny. But to pull it towards Halloween,
Yeah.
he said, I want to give you guys
Give it the old Halloween pull.
the Fun Bears a little Halloween treat from the Netherlands.
Ooh.
So he gave me this.
Healthcare.
Now, Brad,
Yes.
you can read this. I
Why
don't
is it
know.
open?
I wanted to make sure it wasn't poisoned.
Looks like it's Chocolata Kruidnoten.
But I've been always told since
it's
I
open
was a small
candy.
boy, don't eat opened candy.
Yeah, but when Chuck opens candy, you can then have it, and you're gonna feel.
I was also taught in kindergarten, don't take candy from Chuck Staten. And I said, who is Chuck
Yeah, Chuck
Staten?
Staten, a year younger than you.
Yeah.
Hold on. That fucking Bill. Vote yes on. No.
Oh, they're fully open. Like it's an open bag with then unwrapped things.
Oh, you come on. You thought it was gonna be opened and wrapped?
All right, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do a milk and a white.
I think that they taste like little pieces of hard gingerbread covered in different chocolates. One is milk chocolate, one is dark chocolate, one is white chocolate.
Yeah.
And Kenny Rubenis gifted this to us, and he's gifted us many drawings over the years. He's a
Absolutely.
wonderful dude. We love this guy.
Thank you, Kenneth.
And Dito.
And Dito O'Rourke.
Yes.
Oh, crunchy.
Pretty good. Pretty good. The Netherlands
interesting, right?
coming through.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Good stuff.
More Christmassy than Halloweeny, but I like it.
Yeah.
This is the real reason to go to Amsterdam.
Yes, exactly.
You know what this is? This is like a perfected
Whopper.
like malt ball kind of thing.
like a Whopper.
Yeah, because I don't like a malt ball. Can I say the texture of whatever that is inside? Mm-hmm. And there's also people can eat that just on its own. Mm-hmm. What is that called again? It's like whipped egg baked up, and
It's like a malt. It's
I
like,
can't remember what the actual
I
thing is
have no
called.
idea.
I know what you're talking about.
Is it a hot dog?
It's in Whoppers.
No,
Because
It's
if
in
it's
like
yeah,
Whoppers.
it's in
if
Whoppers.
it's not a hot dog, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
hot dog, I don't
The
know about
texture of it to me, I can't eat it. My wife likes it. I know plenty of people that really like this particular kind of thing. I can't do it. The texture, biting into it, the only way I can describe it is the bite equivalent of
Malted milk ball. Malted, is that what it's called?
no. That's the same exact thing that you just said.
Malt.
Yeah.
Milk ball.
All right.
I like
It is the equivalent of
All fucking day so far.
I like
It's the equivalent of this.
I like it once in a while, and it's interesting because like when people say like here's a chocolate milkshake,
Yeah.
or here's a malted chocolate milkshake, I don't know the difference because obviously there's
Malt.
no texture.
Malt.
I know, but I don't know what the taste.
I don't
difference.
know what that is either.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy that I can't think of the actual object, what that's called. But it is the equivalent to me. It's the bite equivalent of nails on a chalkboard.
Okay.
Like it just gives me like a it like shivers down my spine.
I got it.
It's ooky spooky.
Ooh,
You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
good
think
Halloween pull.
Yeah.
I think I could have one, and then I get to where you're going. I'll have like one and be like, oh yeah.
I could eat a quart of Whoppers right now.
Brad loves.
For dinner.
Yes.
If there was a candy that they desperately scrounged for in World War II, Brad is a fan.
Bit-O Honeys, Necco Wafers,
Good and Plenty's,
Good and Plenty's.
Malted Milk Balls, Licorice.
I just did the Rogue Island Comedy Festival.
Oh, yeah.
This
With
past
our
weekend.
buddy Doug Key.
Yeah, family member of the podcast.
Yes.
He's in the Fun Bear family.
Yes.
And it sounds like Jamboree. I just did the Rogue Island, and I have that bit, the candy bit, and it's Halloween times. It was orange and black theme was the color and stuff like that. So I did all my Halloween stuff, and I did the candy bit where I asked people their favorite candies, and there was a gentleman in the front row that said Bit-O Honey, and it boggled my mind.
That is, it's a candy I enjoy because it's sweet. That's it.
And you're Amish.
Yes. But for it to be someone's favorite candy, is the insane.
Oh,
part
I did
to
go
me.
off about it. That was the end of the show.
Yeah,
that was definitely the end of the show.
Yeah, honestly, if that had been 30 seconds in, I think you do the other 59 and a half minutes about somebody's favorite candy being bit on.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. But we did. I do want to pivot to an actual Halloween topic that we had, because so far we've hit the mark on the cash.
Yep.
Right, because this is our Halloween cash. We have hit cash. Tick.
Candy.
We've hit candy. Tick. Right? Now we got to hit that Halloween. Tick.
Right.
Okay.
And this was your idea, Chuck. It was the concept of, like, because we just did the Saw franchise flashback.
Right.
Halloween horror films. What are sequels of horror films that have really stood out to you? Like, what is the best horror film?
Yeah, for me, the way I was thinking of it is like, we talked a lot about Saw and about how they started in a place that was kind of boxed in. So where do you go?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to sequelize that kind of stuff, but especially in the world of horror, people are constantly doing sequels and reboots. And so we said,
and sequels.
Sequels,
requels.
I love requels. I told Brad, I'm like, I would love for us to start doing deboots where we do our own like lower quality. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
I would love a deboot, but it's really hard to sequelize and reboot a lot of stuff. So we wanted to put some light on the ones that we think have been really well done that affected us.
Absolutely.
So do you have a little list?
I think we're going to overlap. I wouldn't.
We're
be
going to have a
surprised.
ton of overlap.
Yeah,
and also like
that's what happens when you rub anuses. A ton of overlap and overflap.
Sequel wise, I don't love a lot of horror films. I don't love a lot of horror sequels.
It's interesting because you love horror books.
I do.
That's interesting.
So for me, my favorite sequels, and I'm not saying they're the best.
He loves whenever we talk about our favorite things, he's like, listen, everybody, I'm not saying they're the best. I just like them. Stop bothering me.
I mean, nobody can argue my opinion rather than me saying, oh, this is objectively the best.
Yes.
And also, these films are not objectively the best.
I have personal opinions, and then I do have one that I am saying definitively is the best horror sequel.
Wow.
I really do believe it.
Cool.
Mine are like
because I thought about it academically.
Yeah.
Troll 2.
Troll
I enjoy
2.
Troll 2.
Right.
Wow.
That's a great sequel for the wrong reasons.
Right.
That's interesting. What a great. That
It
was.
is.
Can we all stand up and just take a moment for Mr. Brad? I didn't even think about this. That's great.
Troll 2 and then Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, same vein, where it's not what would be taught in film classes. I mean, Chuck majored in film as the ultimate film. I don't know that Orson Welles, in wherever he is in the afterlife, is concerned about those films stealing his legacy. But
he was actually tapped to do Halloween 4. Yeah.
Rest in peace.
I want that man.
Yes.
Citizen Myers.
I want that man to hide behind a bush, and I want him to come out, but then I want him to go back in. That's my citizen. I don't know.
That's good.
It's my
good.
Orson Welles.
Well, we
It's
know
my
Maurice
Orson Welles.
LaMarche, who does the.
Yeah,
the
I
main-
apologize. I was doing a close version.
You
Oh,
did.
yeah, I think
It was great.
I think you
I
and
knew
Maurice
you-
would have a good time together.
My favorite Orson Welles product is the outtakes of the commercial that he was making,
Yes.
getting more and more drunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Please.
my favorite Orson Welles thing ever, that's like a joke, is on The Critic. The Critic would have him.
Oh,
as
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was the best.
Yeah, for sure.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
I
Yes.
love that. That's my favorite Halloween movie, and it has nothing to do with old MM there.
Yeah, and it's
Eminem.
and it's tough because my third sequel idea was Alien was a horror film, Aliens, less horror, more action, but I enjoy it as a film.
Oh, I think it's widely regarded as one of the best
I
horror
have
sequels.
Aliens as one of my
Overflap.
best.
Overflap.
Aliens. And here's oh no. Don't do a cartoon.
I think it would be illegal for him to draw it even in Amsterdam.
That's true. Oh no, I just pictured a Ren and Stimpy style animation. Oh no, I'm giving you the idea. And it's two people bending over, sort of far apart from each other, and then you just see two stretches coming together, tied in a bow in the middle.
Like the tongue that would stick to a pole in
Yes.
like Christmas Story.
Yeah. You're welcome.
It's got to be Brad and Ray. And I'm judging. I'm a referee.
Referee,
What if
is
the
it a
bow?
contest?
What
It's like a tug of war.
What if the whole thing is now
stand a
being?
chance.
If we swivel our hips just right,
My skin tears like parchment
It's a
paper.
double Dutch.
there we go. Yeah.
Chuck.
I just do the setups in this episode.
Yeah.
I just start a joke and then you guys do whatever you want. That's what I've been doing all day. It's fun.
That is like 4 of them.
I know. It's truly maddening. And if the mics weren't on, I'd be a very upset little boy. It's in my eyes.
That's how
Can
I-
Can you
see it?
imagine being interrupted during the podcast for someone to say a funny thing? It is.
Yeah.
It is hard.
It's different. There's a pattern happening today.
That's how I felt all franchise flashback.
Yeah. Well, I had a job to do.
Keep going.
All
Keep
right.
going.
All right.
No, Aliens, and it fits in with this overall theme I have here. Aliens goes back to the original film and elevates certain aspects of it. There's almost a feeling of like, let me do this again this way.
Right.
Because I think if you haven't seen Alien, I think you can see Aliens as the origin of that thing.
Yeah.
Aliens is incredible, yeah.
I would say that Dawn of the Dead
2004.
is not the 2004.
Oh, wow, okay.
I love 2004.
Yeah, sure.
That's a great reboot, but just in sequel terms. Dawn of the Dead is a fantastic sequel to Night of the Living Dead,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Now, granted, there's a lot of weirdness in the Dead verse or whatever, because George A. Romero and the other filmmaker that I don't remember his name, and that's sort of how it is historically. They split after Night of the Living Dead. Do you guys know this?
I did not.
Oh,
I don't know. I really don't have a lot of experience with George A. Romero. I don't know if I've actually seen the movies.
Oh, wow, that's sad. That is
crazy.
yeah. So George A. Romero and one other gentleman, they made Night of the Living Dead. They split, and there was like a legal issue over who owned what.
Oh, wow.
And so Romero got Of the Dead.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did hear that.
Right. So Night of the Living Dead then became Dawn of the Dead, and then he went on, and every movie is now, Day of the Dead.
And the other guy was like, all right, night zombies. Night terrifying
Yeah,
zombie.
he
He got Living Dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was going to
believe.
say, because Of the Dead is not the same as Of the Living
Yeah.
Dead.
Right. And so that's why you see those things happen. And that's why some of the other sequels are different. There's also, I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's like Night of the Living Dead 2 or 3. The one where they crack open a canister in a basement and then I don't know. Oh, this one's great. I love it. It's the one with the punk kids all hanging out at the cemetery.
I can picture the cover of
Yeah,
this.
exactly. It's the
Yes.
punk kids, and then by the end of the movie, like a tenement building is being taken over, the slums or whatever, and they're projects. And they're doing their thing. And then there's a great moment in it where like there's a ambulance or police car in front, and the zombies have already taken over, and the radio's coming through like car 44, where are you? And one of the zombies picks it up and just says, "Send more ambulance." Right?
Right.
Or something like that. Like, bring more people. We want to eat 'em.
Right.
Wow.
It's so silly. But that was a different vein of what the
Got it.
zombie movies are.
The Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Wow.
So 80s, really fun.
Excellent.
I would say that is equally as entertaining as Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead is really slow and
Yes.
low,
Right.
but it's a lot of fun.
Right.
But they're such different movies.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is that idea of let me revisit the thing and kind of remake this thing. Because essentially Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead, it's the same basic concept.
Right.
Which brings me to my personal favorite, Let Me Do This Again and perfect it. And this is the one. I have two other movies to mention. Should I just say those really quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
Okay.
Dream Child, or Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic, let's elevate this, right? Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger is a real bad guy. It's a really quality step up of, well, let's engage with that. What does that mean? We've set the rules
Right.
that Freddy can exist in the dream world and has this ability.
Yep.
And it was this group of teens that was like, well, then let's get in there and fuck them up.
I love that.
And
I
think
love
it's
the
great.
idea. Yeah.
It gets sillier as it goes on. My personal favorite is the I never remember which number it is. I think it might be 5 or 6. It's the I think it might be, I can't remember. It's the one with the one kid, the last teen that gets out of the town.
Yeah.
Where Freddy is very cartoony.
Yeah.
That might be 5.
might be
Where they
5.
like drive to the town limits.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love it. I think that's fun.
I forgot about the power glove.
Yeah, that's the one with Roseanne in it.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the whole town is just like kids. Kids are here because there's a fair and it's all adults and they're sad. It's great. And then the other movie I wanted to mention, a quick shout out, and then I'll say the one that I think is like the best. I have to. It's not horror; it's more thriller, but it was commentary on the torture porn movement of movies, which counts as horror, I think. Right? Saw is in that kind of regard. Funny Games,
Right. Totally.
yeah, Michelle Haneke or Michael Haneke. It depends on, I don't know the specifics there. Let's say Michael Haneke. He wrote and directed the original in German, I believe.
Right.
And Funny Games is a commentary on torture porn movies.
Yeah.
It's really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
It breaks the fourth wall multiple times.
I know. I got to give it another watch. We've talked about this a bunch of times.
It does it in ways that are so intentionally unsatisfying, which makes it very satisfying.
Right.
It is commentary on all of those movies.
It's a subversion of the genre.
Yeah, it ends with an entire like monologue, essentially saying, "Hey, audience, when you see a movie and you see fictional characters, it's equivalent to seeing real people. So when you see these torture porn movies, you are going to see people be violated and horribly murdered, right? And graphically. And so what is it in you that does that? And the movie like examines pieces of that in a really, really great way.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. So that movie came out, and then the torture porn thing hit even more. And so Michael Haneke then released a shot-for-shot remake of Funny Games in English with English-speaking actors.
Naomi Watts is in it.
Yeah, and Tim Roth.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It's just so good because it came out and it's talking about like this thing, like what does it mean to watch these movies?
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. So the remake is, it's the same movie.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no change. But the fact that it is a shot-for-shot remake makes it so interesting. You know what I mean?
For sure. I watched that movie when I did not understand it. Like absolutely for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to revisit it for that reason.
Absolutely, it's really, really great. It is.
Yeah.
It's it can be a turnoff for sure. Like I remember going to see the shot-for-shot remake when that came out in theaters.
Yeah.
And I was super pumped because I had already seen the original Funny Games. And a group of us in college went, and there was like half of us that had seen the original and loved it, and the other half hadn't seen that. And some of the people in the new camp loved it.
Yep.
There were a bunch of people that were just like, I hated that.
Yeah, yeah.
And they hated it because they took the things that happened in the movie as these are just things happening without the commentary of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Super
That's how I
interesting.
took it, I think.
Yeah, it's very dry. I'm sorry. But and then finally, here's my position. I think this is the best horror sequel ever. Personally, I think that. And I think academically, if we were going to argue what's the best one, and I really think this is true, Evil Dead 2.
I was going to say Evil Dead 2 is a really funny thing because it almost fits into what you were talking about. of kind of like revisiting and changing.
Yeah, exactly. That was the gist of it, because it really is like, this is the same story.
Yeah.
It's not taking place after it, kind of, but not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
It's retelling the same story with some different moves there. And I really do feel like it's Sam Raimi going, I want to do it again. And I learned some things from the first one. This is what I would do differently.
Yeah.
So Robert Rodriguez did Desperado. Then
He did El
Mariachi, Desperado, and then Once Upon a Time in Mexico. And it's the same story each time,
Sure.
but it gets progressively bigger with a budget. And he has said the first one is the real story, the second one is the myth, and the third one is the legend.
which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And so is that like I've
And
never
Puss in Boots is the culmination.
Yes, the natural culmination.
Yeah.
I've never seen an Evil Dead film because I did not grow up. You know, Chuck was like, oh, I used to go to the video store and we'd rent 5 horror movies for $5, and I'm like, I went to the video store and I rented 1 Nintendo game for $5. Like, I never was into horror movies, and then Chuck's like, well, if you're going to be my friend, like, this is part of it, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
And so now I've seen a lot of the big horror movies, but Evil Dead, because we haven't done a franchise flashback for it.
Oh, that'd be a good one because there's 5 now.
Yeah.
And a TV
it's tough 'cause
show
there's,
and a
like,
comic
The TV
book.
show is tough.
Yeah,
I don't know the TV
The
show.
TV show's fun.
I know, I heard
if
it's
you
good.
just like embrace it. It's
I I love Bruce Campbell as a performer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm not unwilling to watch these movies, but at the same time, I just haven't made it a point to watch
Evil
them.
Dead 1 is a pretty straightforward horror film.
Low budget.
Very amateur.
Yeah.
Ish. But really, really clever.
Yes.
Like we were just talking before we started filming when we were in the parking lot, we were talking about movies and the idea of limitations creating really interesting moments.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like, you know, necessity being the mother of invention, like that kind of thing. That's like a textbook scrappy gang of wannabe filmmakers
Right.
Oh,
making this thing, and it really is just friends doing this thing together,
Right.
And being miserable throughout, like
Yes.
everybody getting pneumonia because they had to stay in the cabin when they were making it.
Did they have an ADR line of like somebody yelled shed? Because they were like, oh, how did this character know that this other character was in the shed? And they had to, like,
I don't
as he's
remember,
running
but that
away,
sounds
it's
that
something
sounds
like that.
that sounds
Shed!
likely.
Like,
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Oh, that's fun.
There's a lot of moments of just this person was supposed to be in the whole thing,
Yep.
but they left, and so we killed them off, and
Yep.
a lot of that stuff. And Evil Dead 2, it really is Raimi just going, oh, now I can do this
Right.
a little better, right, a little more, and I think the voice of Sam Raimi comes out far more in
I
Evil
think so
Dead
too.
2.
Yeah.
Because there's comedy in Evil Dead
For
2.
sure, without a doubt.
And there's more room for Bruce Campbell to go from average, like, hero man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's the last guy,
Right.
right? In a horror movie.
Yeah.
Instead of the
Final girl.
The final girl.
Yeah.
He's the last guy.
Yeah.
And usually they have to be more John McClane than anything else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right.
This was a turn from that, and it really let him be Bruce Campbell
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
do all the pratfalls and the physical comedy and all that stuff. And there's some really great work in that is using practical effects and blending as much stuff
Absolutely.
as possible.
Absolutely.
So I do think, and it's still a scrappy indie that is just like, we're trying to make this thing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's the best sequel to a horror movie because there's zero cynicism involved in that.
Right.
There's zero.
Me too.
This made money, so let's make another one. Oh, okay. Truly, it's. I want to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's
totally.
beautiful.
It
That's
is.
really great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I it's funny because have you seen the newer Evil Dead movies or no?
Yeah. I didn't see. I
Evil
saw
Dead Rise came out this year.
Yeah, I saw that. That was great. It was the one previous that I didn't see.
So the one that came out recently, I thought it was a really fun, like haunting horror movie. Like there's not much of a plot to it.
Right.
But I think they did a really good job making a small movie.
Yeah.
And the one before that, I think is even better. And it's in the same direction. But
Yeah.
it does lose the fun of Evil Dead. They no longer have that.
There's
which
no
I think
comedy
is
in
which
it.
I think is weird.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
To me, those 2 and 3 define the mix.
3 is so wacky.
It's crazy.
Army of Darkness is the wackiest fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I think there is something really special about that trilogy.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm going to call that a trilogy
Yeah,
because
right. I think
the
so.
TV show is ancillary. That's extra. That's just it's almost like a victory lap.
Yeah,
Right?
I think so too.
And then the 2 movies that have come since then have nothing to do with the first, beyond just the Book of the Dead, and then this
There's like zombie-ish things.
present evil thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That trilogy is so wacky as a trilogy, where it's like, here's the first scrappy indie horror, doing some new shit that's really interesting. Evil Vision is amazing and so dirt simple.
Right.
Dirt simple. It was him and one other guy. They stuck a camera on a board,
Yeah.
and then they just ran through the woods.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because it does the thing that everyone knows is the like film school version of shooting a thing. It's the Jaws shark rule.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Show it as little as possible.
Yeah.
We never see what that evil is.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we get the beauty of those Dead by Dawn, Dead by Dawn. Like the
Yeah.
Deadites are fantastic creatures. Sam Raimi needs a Hall of Fame moment just for creating, basically taking zombies and making them even better movie things.
Right.
Yeah, right,
Does that
right,
make
right.
sense?
Yeah,
Yes,
totally.
yes, it
The
does.
idea of fucking with someone that, it's a loved one.
Right.
And they're like Joker style torturing them mentally is amazing.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah.
So you have that first movie, then a little bit of wackiness in the second one, add some interesting stuff. And then 3 is just all out like, what if we just do a real ridiculous movie?
Right.
And it's half Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Oh,
really
yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's my thing. Evil
Good.
Dead 2 is my favorite horror sequel, and what I think academically is the best horror sequel. We didn't finish your list.
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
start my list.
Let's start it up, Chucky.
All right, so I'm
That's
not
right, yeah.
gonna talk too long about these. I'll just say them real quick. My top horror sequels of all time: Paranormal Activity 2.
Ooh,
have you
it's a
seen
good
it?
one.
I've never seen a paranormal movie.
So Paranormal Activity, the first one, I really think it's kind of like a Blair Witch situation, and it's very well executed. Paranormal Activity 2, the first, I think, 30 minutes take place before Paranormal Activity 1.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it takes place after Paranormal Activity 1.
Okay.
And so it's very much
A pre and sequel.
yeah,
Ooh.
you know, and it's
Yeah.
really well done.
You know why I never got into the PAs?
Why?
The first movie came out, and I skipped it because of House of Leaves, that book that I
Oh,
read.
yeah. Mark Danielewski.
Yeah, Mark Z. Danielewski. That is horrifying. And we
Yes.
talked about it back on your podcast
Yes, we did.
back when that happened. And
I still haven't read it. It's on my Amazon wish list. Still haven't read it because I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
you
want,
said, like,
I don't want nightmares.
spooky.
Yeah, you said it like did it so well that you didn't want to.
Yes.
Yeah, I never want to read it again, obviously, but it was such a fun ride. But it was that book was fresh in my mind when Paranormal Activity
it.
came out, and they're different stories for sure.
Yeah.
But the basic like the foundation, the concrete floor of this thing,
Yeah.
was essentially the same. Based on the trailer, like
Yeah.
people move into this house, and that's what happens in House of Leaves. And I'm like, I already got that story, and it was.
I don't think it's probably not similar at all.
Exactly. No, I don't think it is.
Yeah, it probably isn't similar at all. It's just like I know what you mean though. If it comes out at the same time, whatever.
Yeah. Was there a penis monster in Paranormal Activity?
That's the P in paranormal.
But Paranormal
Penis, anus, rectum, anus.
Do N. Nice penis.
but I think
Old penis.
I think it was one of those things where you know how
Rusty penis.
you know how you said like, oh, it's in horror a lot of times it's like people make an original thing and they
Yeah.
say it made a lot of money, make another one, and the puzzle of well, what do we do with this? They knocked it out of the park, I
Yes.
think, with Paranormal Activity 2.
Yeah.
I think Scream 4 was excellent. That was the one where it was, the main character's cousin that was involved in the thing. And I think, again, it was a subversion of the original story as opposed to just, and here we go with more.
Yeah.
It had way more to do with it. Aliens is on my list. And also, if you love Alien and Aliens, check out the new Rockstar's Deep Dive channel. They just did 2 videos that are deep into Alien and Aliens, and they're incredible. 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah,
That's a
I
great one,
agree.
and it's funny because it's another one of those things where it's like, well, is it really a sequel?
Right.
And it kind of is. It qualifies.
I would count it as a sequel. It's tough though because when I watched it, I did feel like this is fun, but it could have nothing to do with Cloverfield, and
Yeah.
Of
that's
course.
fine, and probably didn't.
Yeah, it was John Goodman, Mary
Oh, I
Elizabeth
think
Winstead.
I
Is that
think he
right?
did write it though. I think it was the same people that came up with it.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't like separate.
Yeah.
The third one that was a surprise release after
That
the Super Bowl,
Netflix one,
which
yeah.
was dog shit.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
not usually like the one to say that. That was a separate property that they're
Yeah.
just like Cloverfield.
Right.
But 10
We,
Cloverfield Lane was My Bad Robot.
We watched the Super Bowl at your house, and you're like, "Oh, I can't wait! Let's watch this
I was so
Cloverfield
excited.
Paradox afterwards." He was so excited. I'm like,
Yeah.
"But we have to have interviews with all the football players." And Chuck's like,
Oh, we have to know. Oh my god.
and
Anyway.
and then we watched
We'll
it. And,
have
I was,
interviews.
and wait, we got done, and Chuck was like, "We should have watched the interviews with the
No,
football
I would
players."
never say that.
I'll be honest with you. I know that movie's
I throw
terrible.
ball. I catch ball. And Brad's like,
I agree. I would rather watch that sequel to Cloverfield than watch the interviews with the football players. I would rather watch the football players describe literally any movie.
Yeah.
I would like that.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Final top sequel is Halloween 2018.
Ooh, yeah,
it
very
was
good.
incredible, and that one was actually a real sequel.
Yeah.
But they had the benefit of 40 years later. What does this do to a person?
Right.
So there's a lot of storytelling that I think a lot of other movies can't really incorporate.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're like, well, we have to make it 18 months later. We don't have the benefit of Jamie Lee Curtis being 70 years old.
Yeah.
My top reboots: The Thing, 1982. I think is my favorite of all time for a reboot in terms
Yep.
of horror thriller.
Yeah.
The Thing from Another World is the
Right,
original.
right.
Dawn of the Dead 2004, and I loved It 2017.
Oh, that's great.
And then my runners, Halloween 3 is killer.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it is a thing where it's like, is that a sequel? Is it like, I think Halloween 3 might be National Lampoon's Vacation to National Lampoon's Animal House. Because that's what they said. That's what they were trying to, they said,
I guess so.
we
Yeah.
wanted to make Halloween the National Lampoon of horror.
Right. I know they wanted a franchise where it was
Different stories.
different stories throughout. Yeah.
So
an anthology.
So it's tough to count it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a straight up comedy, which I love. He has the two little chainsaws, the sheriff. Saw X was great. I think New Nightmare is
Yeah.
the kind of sequel that I really gravitate towards, which is
Yeah,
a real
yeah.
twist. I loved Evil Dead 2013. It's in here. I have a bunch more, but it's just like, I think that the secret might be to not say, let's continue the story in a traditional way. I think the secret might be, let's find a different vantage point or a different take on what this is. Maybe Aliens and Alien is the best version of that. That's so
I think,
clear.
I think the secret thing, the secret sauce, is to have the idea
Work on its own.
first.
Yes.
Have the idea first for a sequel,
Right.
not the need for a sequel
Right.
first. Don't let the need for the sequel drive what that movie's going to be. And I think that's the secret, right? I think that might be.
They figured out the secret sauce was putting the leprechaun in the hood.
That is true.
And so
That
when they
is
needed a
true.
sequel,
Man, the 90s was a real but what if all of these people were surrounded by lower income black folks?
Yep.
What would happen then? What if the crypt keeper was around a bunch of black thugs?
Another great reboot that kind of falls in line with funny games is probably The Ring. Because The Ring is a really good original horror movie, but it came out like a couple of years after Ringu.
Yeah. Ringu.
But it's funny, I'm obsessed with this concept, and you guys know this very well, of being put in the position to say,
Right.
make a good Halloween 2, make a good this, and how do you actually complete that in a way that's not just, well, we made another one, it's another story,
Yeah.
and make something that stands out on its own. And that's a really interesting place to play with for
Yeah.
me,
Absolutely.
But we did want to talk about something that I thought would be fun.
anuses.
So I recently hosted an episode
Did you
of
see that movie?
Anuses.
No, there was a movie about a teenage boy with a huge anus, and it was big and purple.
Hungry Mungry.
Anus. No, it was called Anus.
Oh.
And by the end of the movie, he kind of like learns to accept that he has a huge anus in high school.
Oh, it was about the cells, and they it was a science project. Mazzy Star played at the big school dance.
I know there was a big school dance, and there was maybe Mazzy Star was singing "Fade Into You."
She certainly was.
Okay, anus. Sorry, remember that movie Angus?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I love
that was
Angus.
the joke I was doing there.
I love Angus.
Angus is one of those movies. When I saw that, I was in high school.
Yep.
And I saw that movie, and like I'm enjoying the movie, and then it dawned on me.
That you were James Vanderbeek.
It dawned on me in a big way that I'm sort of basically Angus without the like. If Angus had more personality,
The best friend.
He was he was
broken arm
raised
here.
by his mother and grandmother, wasn't he? In Angus?
Probably.
I don't know that there was a
Wow, that's
dad in it.
weird.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
He used humor to deflect at one point.
Oh man.
Does he end up banging the hot girl at the dance?
He did. Well, I don't know that he banged her.
Kissed her?
Right
I
on
danced
center
with her.
court of the dance.
So
Yeah.
you danced with
I
her to
remember-
Mazzy Star.
Yeah.
The last time I watched it was on VHS.
Yeah, for sure. Same here. Yeah.
Wow.
But no, like I remember Angus, and I was just like, I liked it, and then I didn't like it because it was too close,
Got
and
it.
I went, I don't like that movie. You know what I mean? Like it makes me think about things I don't want to think about. I'm in high school. I'm still developing my sense of humor that will ultimately become my key to the world and also the wall I put up to protect myself. Okay? Wow, that was too like salient of a point to
That was
make.
beautiful. That's why we podcast.
Oh
Fred.
no. Rangus.
Please, Rainus. Oh no.
Would you go see a horror movie and they say no trailers?
Yeah.
It's just a black poster. You know, the letters are far apart. The kerning is wide. Mm-hmm. Anus. Would you see it?
I would be checking Twitter the day it came out. That's what I would be doing.
Who directed it? Who directed
Yeah, who
Anus?
directed it? M. Night Shyamalan.
You know what's so funny? If we all made different like posters of the movie Anus, just directed by different directors.
I'll say this. That sounds like a Pitch Doctors episode. Write it down for next October. What
Pitch
is Doctors?
Anus.
Anus by David Fincher.
You know what I want to do? I just want to take every clip from like a bunch of trailers where someone is they do that zoom into someone's face when they say a thing. Like the example would be Harrison Ford in Force Awakens when he's like, "It's true, all of it," right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Just every moment of that in as many trailers as possible.
Yeah.
Punch them all together and then put anus at the end, and that's the whole beat.
That's funny.
Yeah, I like that.
Really funny.
I had an idea forever ago. If I had time, if I had thought of it when I was in my early 20s, I would have made this a trailer for a movie, and it's Tom Hanks and Tom Hanks and Tom Hanks, and taking clips of Tom Hanks from like Castaway,
That's
Forrest Gump, Money Pit, Saving Private Ryan.
That's really funny.
The Sully Sullenberger story.
Joe versus the volcano.
Joe versus the volcano.
Burbs.
The Lady
Man with
Killer.
One
Yeah,
red
Forrest.
shoe.
Yeah,
The Lady
all of
Killers is a deep cut.
Yeah, thank you.
That's very funny.
Yeah, and it would be like starring Tom Hanks, and then like a quick clip, and Tom Hanks. And I wanted to do it where I could take dialogue from
Yeah, like
one,
they're having a
and
conversation.
yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
TM, trademarked. I'll fucking sue you. I'll see you in court, and I'll
drag you to hell.
Oh, speaking of
Drag you to hell.
Me to Hell,
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, often considered a
And-
spiritual sequel to Evil Dead.
I was going to say, to me, Drag Me to Hell feels a lot closer to the Evil Dead movies than the Evil Dead sequels.
Yes.
And I'm not saying I don't like them. I'm just saying I feels a lot
And
closer in
honestly,
tone.
I think if you could go in and change just a couple of lines, it would be a very satisfying sequel.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I love
I
that
know.
movie culminates. Like the climax of that movie is like the person that you've been following the whole time, they get dragged to hell. You're not going to believe this. They got dragged to hell.
I'm stuck on this anus idea where it's like anus, and it's like trailer one And we take these insane moments from movies and put them together.
Yeah. Anus.
And then trailer 2. And it's like crazier. Man, maybe we should. I don't know. This is fun. But anyway.
I think one trailer would be like quotes that they use for movies, all from like high-end, high-drama movies.
Yeah.
And it's like critic quotes.
Yep.
Yeah.
For this, and it's just, it makes no sense.
And it's like, even though this movie hasn't reached wide audiences yet, the Criterion Blu-ray is already planned for release.
Yeah,
2025.
I love that.
That's really funny.
Let's get to our spookies, because we are, guys, we're almost at an episode, so we should get to the episode.
So here's the idea for this episode that we're going to do. I was filming last week.
We're good at foreplay, aren't we?
That's good.
Yeah.
Get them warm. But that's how.
Wait, do you think foreplay is just getting a lover warm? Like you're just putting blankets on them? It's like, what are you doing?
Are you ready to come?
I'll say
Get ready.
if there's 3 of us, our skillet foreplay is probably like 4 + 4 + 1.
I think our skillet
we're
foreplay
at
is
9.
like bacon eggs. That's
So-
our skillet.
I'm hosting a show on the Tell 'em Steve Dave Patreon
Yes.
called the TESD Tapes. And we just transformed the show from an audio show to a video show. And now it's full video. It's me and the Tell 'em Steve Dave guys.
Full V.
Full V. And as always, whenever I direct a show, because I also direct it, Walt Flanagan gives me free reign to kind of create like an intro and an overarching feeling to the show. So I said, what would be a cool intro to the TESD Tapes? Which was, Walt came up with that name as a behind-the-scenes look at the history of Tell 'em Steve Dave. And I was like, it'd be cool to go into like an abandoned property and film myself going in and going through this property and looking in almost like an abandoned government building and finding the TESD tapes, like it were the hidden files.
Yeah, that's fun.
So-
So you went to an old circuit city.
So
I love a circuit city. It's a dead building, but you know what it was.
So I reached out to my buddy, Staten Island Gina, and I'm like, listen, you know Staten Island more than I do. I've been living here less than
Your
2
name's
years.
Staten Island Gina.
Yeah, yeah. And I said, where do you think? Do you know any places we could go?
Because you're 2 places, Chuck.
And I was like, do you know anywhere we could go? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
And she said, there's a place in Staten Island called Toad Hill. Are you familiar with it? It's where they shot Godfather 2. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like very...
Toady.
Toady. It's very Italian, very rich, whatever.
Yeah.
I think a few of the celebrities of Staten Island live there, which there are some. Keep laughing, but...
Okay.
Well, like Pete Davidson is around.
I think
There's
it's weird
one.
that Chuck doesn't consider himself one of the celebrities of Staten Island.
we got those impractically joking guys.
Yeah,
We got DeStefano, like all those people live in Staten Island.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that they live, if not around that area, then somewhere nearby. But it's very rich houses. And she said there was a mansion being built that was suddenly abandoned during construction, and it's just in the woods.
Oh, so this, you know what that is? The bubble. The bubble.
Yeah.
2008 bubble.
By the way, I don't
The
know.
real estate bubble.
By the way, just saying, I actually don't know where any of those Staten Island people live. I'm just guessing they live there because it's so rich and so big.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
The bubble.
so she said, let's go try to find it, which is a weird task, especially as like a grown man. You know what I mean? Like when
Sure.
when you're in high school, college, you kind of go and find these places. But we had to go through the woods, look for this abandoned mansion, like find a fence, find a hole in the fence, and go into these abandoned properties.
Yeah. Wow.
Where there's like a ton of graffiti, like beer cans, like I actually found bones in one, which was really weird.
What kind of bones?
It looked like maybe a fox or like a large larger mammal than a rabbit.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I thought that was a setup to be like, well, they were chicken wing bones, and they weren't there when I walked in.
Yeah. But we went to this abandoned mansion. That was pretty cool. But then there's like a famous place, and I had to text my buddy Brian Rupert,
Statue of Liberty.
who has helped us film. He works on Tell 'em Steve Dave stuff.
Yeah.
And he grew up in Staten Island. He lives across the bridge in Hazlitt, New Jersey. And I said, do you know any places? And he said, yeah, go here. This is like abandoned hospitals and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's multiple buildings. And so again, we had to find it, find the fence, find the fucking hole. And I went on Reddit and I looked for it. and it had like the geotag location
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
million numbers. That's how we had to find the hole in the fence.
Because
Which
you're
is kind of
notoriously, you're not very good at finding the hole.
hey, that's why I stick with the fourplex.
Yeah, so many blankets.
Yeah. But it's kind of fun finding that. And especially on like a
course.
thread on Reddit, you feel like this is
Yeah.
like a little spook. And so, you know, it's late at night. So we go in and it's multiple buildings, right? And maybe, you know what? I'll on top of this video, I'll throw all the footage because I filmed the whole time.
Yeah, sure.
It's all these abandoned buildings, tons of graffitis, and they seem like old schoolhouses.
Tons of graffitis. Look at all these graffitis.
I don't know why I said that. But it's all spray painted. And it's the stairs are so frightening that like you look at the stairs, you're like, if I step on that, it is a crapshoot on whether or not it will collapse.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's all rust. It's all this shit. It's very like full of trash, very scary. But we got our filming done. Gina helped me. It was great. It came out really good. I'm really happy. The episode came out last week. Great response. Appreciate the Tell 'em Steve Dave listeners. Really happy with it. But it sparked me into thinking like, wow, like kids do this a lot when they're high school, college age.
Yeah.
Where they go, man, you know, about
Middle
the-
school.
Yeah, you know about the abandoned mental institution, the abandoned blank.
Yeah.
And people go and do that. And I, growing up as a bona fide pussy, was very scared of that stuff. And I wanted to know if you guys had any experience with haunted locations of your towns.
Yes.
So what do you got?
First of all, I was the one who bona fide you.
Really quickly about the graffiti, because I saw some of the shots.
I think it was the plural.
The graffitis, yes.
Yeah.
About the graffitis.
Yeah.
I saw some shots of where you were.
Yeah.
And I saw the walls covered in graffitis. To me, that's less scary than if the walls were blank, because I look at that and go,
Oh,
this
people
is
have come.
proof of all
Life.
these different people having been here, hanging out, doing their thing. Then I'm only worried about like
Tweakers.
like a shitty person being there.
Right.
But that's a different fear than the paranormal or some
heck, a
other
ghost,
is
yeah.
gonna get me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because I don't believe in ghosts.
Right.
But when I'm in a place where it's probable that would be a thing there,
Right.
I'm like, maybe this is the moment where all of what I think is the world is completely changed.
This is how
Yeah.
I feel. I'm like, as soon as I say out loud that I don't believe in ghosts, I'm gonna get dragged to hell. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's gonna happen to me.
Would you say you ain't afraid of no ghosts?
Yeah, I ain't afraid of no ghosts. But I do think it's funny, like one of the things in a lot of horror movies when like a ghost thing happens, a haunting of some kind, it is interesting to me that movie, the thing will happen and then people move on by the end. Or, in a sequel, we see them move on. And to me, all I think about is like, your whole worldview has to be shattered in that moment.
exactly.
Because if ghosts are real, they're fucking everywhere.
Yes, exactly.
How do you not, like Final Destination, Devon Sawa ends up a guy in a shack hiding from death?
Yes.
That's what I think anyone in any kind of paranormal situation in a movie would end up being.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just somebody like, holy shit, right? Like if that ghost is real, then they're everywhere.
That's I always whenever I watch a scary movie and I think about the logistics of finding like a monster or a ghost
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
I'm like, what are the ramifications of like trying to go to bed that night and being like, what else though?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's such I defeated the thing, but what else is out there?
I defeated the one and only ghost.
Yeah,
Thank goodness.
How the new Exorcist just came out, right?
Yeah.
How is Reagan and her mother not every day going like, so the Judeo-Christian God and devil are very real, right? That changes a lot of how I
It's
live my
also,
life.
go to school today. Don't get nabbed again.
Yeah.
Like it's not even like they did anything wrong in the first place to become part of that.
She played with that Ouija board.
Well, I'm
Everybody
just saying,
knows
it's
she
like,
played with the Ouija.
Oh, can I?
For some reason, I pictured Trump talking about. She played with the Ouija. You never play with the Ouija.
Oh, he's the devil's advocate.
Well, no, this is if the events of The Exorcist happened during Donald Trump's term as president.
And they were like, hey, you need to stop this.
Oh, he just
Yeah.
has to do a press conference like
Yeah.
there. What about that situation that happened, right? And he's like, well, we're hearing reports that she played with the Ouija. Never play with the Ouija. I never play with the Ouija.
But if I did,
I don't even play with Luigi when I'm playing Mario Brothers. I don't get too close to it. The Ouija board. Everybody knows it's the devil's board.
Yes.
No, I'm not touching that planchette.
Yes.
To move it around.
That's funny.
You ask it a question, you're only going to get a bad answer.
I need to give a quick little thing. I did want to say this.
Yeah.
I love giving people some stuff to enjoy during the Halloween season on the Halloween podcast that we've done over the years. And this year, I'd really like to point out the movie Cobweb. I think it's a great, very low budget, very intimate, small horror movie that takes place actually on Halloween and everything.
Yeah.
What did you think of it, Brad?
It frightened me.
But what did you think of the quality of the movie? You
disturbed me.
keep avoiding talking about it.
Well, no, I liked it. I told you last night. I'm like, oh, there were some really good shots in the movie. I
He
thought,
was putting blankets on you at the time. Right?
yes, he was.
I want viewers to know that though it's very small.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to really communicate
probably
that.
two locations.
Two locations
yeah,
total,
yeah.
I think.
And
School in the house.
Yeah, and Lizzie Kaplan's great. The
Homelander.
The Homelander is great. The little kid is great. I think I was a little. I didn't love the ending as much as I wanted to. My prediction of what was going to happen was wrong because I'm like, I wrote down a prediction and Chuck's like, you're never going to get it. And I'm like, I deleted it. I wrote a new prediction,
What was your delete?
a more outlandish one.
Was your deleted one closer to the real one?
No.
What was the deleted one?
Well, I can't say it because it gives away.
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay.
It was
but
Bill Cosby.
I was
That's the
thinking when
Cobweb.
you were talking about ghosts affecting your worldview. I was thinking about a ghost dad joke. I really enjoyed it. I probably gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd.
Nice. Okay. Good.
But it disturbed me. I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm stressed out about other things. But I was like, what if there's a cobweb in my house? And then I'm like, no, that's the cat sleeping on me. I'm okay. And then I hear the cat meow from the kitchen. And I'm like, oh no!
Yeah.
There's not a lot of horror movies that take place around Halloween that fall outside of the Halloween series. Like
Right.
Trick or Treat is great, but Cobweb, I really love it. It is very, very, very small.
Yeah.
But I really loved it. And then my other suggestion is that Marvel is doing a bunch of Halloween-based comics this year. They're doing a new Marvel Zombies. I think it's called Black, White, and Red or something. And I'm very excited for that. It hasn't come out yet. And they're doing a new series right now, and it's called Wolverine versus the Predator. And a new monster series with like Deadpool, Man-Thing,
Thing-Man.
Werewolf by Night. And so that stuff is really
Nightwolf
fun.
by Were.
I love trying to fill my seasonal time with like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And those are mine this year. I don't have a ton of new ones. But
My
that's it.
shout out for a Halloween, because I love a movie taking place during Halloween.
Me too.
Even if it's not a horror movie, right?
Right, me too.
Yeah. One of my favorites that I found thanks to Red Letter Media, of course, right? And it's a movie called The Guest. It's a wonderful, low-budget movie. It's not a horror. It's sort of thrillery, I guess, right?
Okay.
What is the general world of it? Because there's a movie
Yeah.
I saw that I loved, but it's either The Invited or The Invitation or The Guest or something.
So The Guest stars... oh, man, I'm going to forget his name, which I just did. The actor that was the lead in Legion... another Noah Hawley show that I absolutely loved. He's now taken over as the voice of the head alien in Solar Opposites, the other Justin Roiland show.
yes.
I love that actor. He's really great.
Right.
He was fantastic in Legion. I think he was in Downton Abbey at some point. Great actor. He's the lead in this. It's a low budget movie. It takes place during Halloween, which I love because not enough stuff. I love the aesthetic of something happening then. Just throw some pumpkins out.
Is it
baby.
about
Yeah.
a soldier?
So it's about a
David Stevens or Dan Stevens?
Dan Stevens. Yeah, that's his name. I love that actor, Dan Stevens. It is a soldier with a mysterious past, kind of unknown, shows up at a family's house.
Okay.
Who this family lost their son, who was also in the war.
Okay.
Right? And this man shows up at their door saying, I was in the unit with him. He was a close friend of mine, and I wanted to come and visit you.
Right.
I just got out.
Yeah.
And things unfold from there.
They often
this
do.
man is not who he seems.
Oh no.
But it's so wonderfully executed. Like it's very low budget, but so fun. And it turns into a really fun place by the end of that movie where you're like, I love this guy. Mm-hmm. I want, he's bad. The world would be better if he didn't exist.
Right.
But I'm so happy that this is happening. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
that kind
That's
of
great.
And I'll tease you with this. the writer of the movie said, "Yeah, we usually lost people right around when we killed the mom." Right? There's no, it's not really spoiling much there.
Yeah.
But it does take the turns that other movies, I think, would shy away from.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's delightful. The soundtrack is killer. It's got that like nice like throwback to the 80s, a lot of synthy kind of music.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And I love that the ism that's in it, the gist of who this guy is and what's going on. They give you enough information to understand it, but they don't explain it away.
Yeah, good.
And I appreciate that.
That's
it leaves
great.
you going, huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
It's a
great.
fun movie. To
Well, I also watched Pet Sematary Bloodlines, and I was severely disappointed.
Sure,
which
yeah,
I
of
knew
course.
it was going. Well, I was hoping there wasn't, of course, but
yeah.
some good stuff. Whatever, I'm bummed.
Listen, when it comes to Pet Sematary, sometimes dead is better. Just leave it alone. Let it lie. Which is what I'd like to say to all the studios.
Can I ask you a quick question about Pet Sematary? Do you like Pet Sematary 2? I like it as a schlock follow-up.
As a purely 90s, when I think of Pet Sematary 2, it's one of the movies that most makes me have the sense memory
Me too.
of holding
A
a
VHS
rental tape case.
That's how I feel
Interesting.
about it.
Yep.
And it's weird to be like, I think Pet Sematary 2 is bad, and yes, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, but no, that's okay.
I think it's
There's
okay,
plenty
too.
of schlocky things that are fun schlock fest
My
things.
sense memory is we watched it when you were at Regency. That was where I first saw it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Pet Sematary, I think, is the first one of my favorite horror movies.
Sure.
I just love it. Anyway, sorry, buddy.
No, that's okay. I had another thought of a movie thing, but it went away. Doesn't matter. Back to your point about
terrifying places?
Yeah, haunted places when you're a kid and stuff like that.
It's weird because I don't have a good Halloween story because I am frightened of everything. Also,
All at
clearly
once.
not a scary Halloween person, more a candy-based Halloween person. That's why I was like, hey, Kenny, you better bring us some candy.
Right.
So I think of the scary place in our town was the bomb shelter was what it was called. It was
Oh,
back
that's
in the,
cool.
Back,
Yeah.
back in the woods, and it's cinder blocks and it's half fallen over, and
That's fun.
Yeah.
it is fun. We went there on the 4th of July, which really, if you're looking at opposites of holidays,
That's not Halloween, yeah.
yeah, no, it's kind of the opposite of Halloween.
Christmas is the opposite of Halloween.
The Purge.
That's not a holiday.
Not yet.
wish.
What about
Someday.
the Purge?
We went out there and we had a bottle rocket fight. I don't know if I was 17 or 18 that summer, but it was,
Okay.
or right before my 17th birthday, right before my 18th birthday.
That was everybody throwing VHS copies of Bottle Rocket at each
we,
other?
I've
we,
never had a bottle rocket fight. Have you?
No.
We should do it for the podcast.
Oh, no.
It could be me and Brad versus you and Finn.
it was,
Triple no.
it's such a dumb and bad idea. I don't know how, none of us had goggles or anything.
Yeah,
we're holding Roman candles and aiming them at each other.
Yeah.
And then our friend Dan Shee would, when he was waiting for someone to get off work, he would have
The Danshi.
he would have like a
Shriek of the dead.
he would have
The
like a 12-pack of bottle rockets, and they're bundled together,
Yeah.
and he would twist the sticks
Oh,
and break the
no.
sticks off, and then twist the wicks. So you'd light them, throw
What
them
a
in the
wick
air,
twister.
and it was like a cluster bomb
Yeah.
of bottle rockets, and he called them she bombs. Makes sense.
That's really funny though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
William Hung did a song about that.
Yes. And so
She bombs. She bombs.
that was the only that was the only time I went to this bomb shelter.
Yeah.
It was
And then ironically did the thing it's supposed to protect against.
it was such a weird day. We definitely thought about who got the most Roman candles, and then it was who chipped in for it the most, and
That's
Yeah.
fair.
it was
Yeah.
it was one of our many friendship straining fights.
I can't. You wouldn't do a bottle rocket fight with me?
Not now.
What if
no.
what
No,
if we
no.
wore
I'm
goggles and a helmet?
40 years old.
What if we wore goggles and a helmet?
No, I'm good.
Knee pads.
No. Back in the day, hell yeah.
with knee pads, yeah.
Yeah.
I was most worried about a bottle rocket hitting my knee.
Well, how about this? If anyone in this room starts throwing bottle rockets at you, you might just want to have some ready. That's all I'm going to say.
Like it's a quick draw.
Ray and I are gonna just make she bombs.
You know that Brad would get one right in the throat.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
it would go right down his mouth.
Honestly, I am.
I don't know.
Just going around his We see it from the outside.
I don't know how. Not just we didn't get hurt by like shooting explosives at each other, but like tripping over a root as we like tried to dodge these things. It was a colossally bad idea.
I mean, we did plenty of things that are basically that, right? Like we shot each other with BB guns all the time, stuff like that.
Really? Shot each other with BB guns?
Yeah, the CO2 ones.
That seems
not
like
just pumps.
That seems dangerous.
That seems more painful than the bottle rockets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never did that either. We used to have shaving cream fights and makeout parties.
At the same time?
When I was in like...
Well, the BB guns weren't involved when we were like making out with people. You know what I mean? It wasn't spin the BB gun. All right.
No, I gotta go to the hospital.
Jessica shot me.
Can I ask a real question?
Yeah.
If a bottle rocket, let's say I shoot a bottle rocket at Brad.
You're so fixated on
I've
bottle
never done
rockets.
it. If it goes, right?
Yeah.
Hits him in the chest and explodes. How much does that hurt and how much damage does it cause?
I think there are a lot of variables.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were using the small cheapo
The
bottle
kind that just
rockets.
go.
You can't like blow off your finger from it.
No, probably.
Probably not.
I wouldn't hold one.
Yeah.
But I think if it shoots at you, it's not going to like break
Burst a
a
hole.
rib.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's going to leave scorch marks.
Yeah, I think the big concern is just burning.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah.
But then Roman candles are just balls of flame that we were shooting at each other.
Some would say great balls of flame.
Right.
Or great balls
One guy
of
would say that.
fire.
Yeah. We had no.
Goodness gracious.
We talked. You mentioned earlier the existential horror of a Mormon momfluencer setting the woods on fire.
Yeah.
That could have been us. We could have been those Mormon momfluencers.
I like
No
that.
precautions about it. Just it was such a weird day.
That is a weird day.
I think it's okay. I think the things like that happen. Chuck's ordering
I wrote down Shriek
bottle
of,
fireworks right now.
I wrote down Shriek of the Danshi in case you want to name the episode that.
Got it. I like that.
Yeah.
He would love it.
Well, when you bring up that kind of idea, like I think back when Chuck brought this up to both of us, this idea, I thought back immediately to like places I went as a younger kid, like in middle school, that looking back now as an adult, I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? Yeah, like there was a building. It was like some abandoned little building in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, on the coast of Kittery, Maine. We stumbled on it in middle school.
Okay.
Like first, you had to ride your bike down to a place called Eagles Point. And it was like a little point where you would go swimming. And then
Nice.
you'd have to go along this path that went along the coast. It's like a few miles. And then into the woods. And then in the middle of nowhere, there was a fenced-in area, like the size of a small like home, right?
Okay.
And
Is
it's
this like wooden fence, chain link fence?
chain link fence with barbed wire on top.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah. And there was a small gap in the part of the fence that could be opened for like a vehicle that had a chain. And we were small enough middle schoolers where we could climb up to where the chain was and then slide in and then climb down.
Yep.
So we wouldn't have to touch any of the razor wire or barbed wire.
Right.
And then there was this little brick building that was very small.
Was it a little house on chicken legs? Because if so, yikes.
The Baba Yaga. The Gaga Yaga. But it was this abandoned thing. It must have been for some kind of like power station or like weather thing, or I don't know what it was, but it was clearly like some kind of like town building.
You're right.
It wasn't a house. Brick thing, boarded up windows, no power, nothing in it.
Right.
In this fenced-in area, we snuck in there, and one of the windows is open. The boarding had been like knocked down, and it was like a period of time of like, you go in first. No, you go in first.
Oh.
And we all climbed in, and were in this fucking thing, right? And I think the first day we found it, we climbed in and only stayed in the area where the sun was coming through that window. But
Yes.
then, of course, we made it our mission.
Yeah.
And went back with backpacks, with flashlights, and I've got my Swiss Army knife in case anything happens, right?
Nice.
Like
Yes.
stuff like that. And we went in, and there was the whole place was trashed,
Yes.
but not graffiti or anything like that. Just like you could just tell it was just old.
Zero graffitis.
Zero graffitis, not one graffiti. And
Graffito.
please, graffita. But there was a basement that was slightly flooded and pitch black, and I just have a memory of us standing there being like, "You go down, you go down."
Yeah, of course.
But I look back now, going, "Are you crazy?" Not for like, there's gonna be a monster.
Yeah, right.
Literally just like
Structural.
some weird creep is living in it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
of
That's what
course.
I'm worried about.
Me too.
But
Let me ask you this: if the three of us stumble on a mysterious house like that,
Yeah.
who do you think is going in first?
Oh, Jesus Christ. The two of you are sitting in the car, and I have to
please.
go up.
First of all, I'm the bravest out of all of us.
All right,
All right, sure.
Chuck volunteered. Then, if
Yep.
we get in
Yep.
any mysterious
well,
situations,
the bravest person, that means they have they're most important. So I might say, I'm brave. I'm going to make this plan.
This is too much psychology
I'm going to say,
happening.
I'm going to make the plan. Brad, you go in first, and I'll be out here.
I like how you lead with, well, I would be the most important. We know that. So what would his traits be? Brave. Okay, I'm brave.
so yeah.
I've never met someone more accurately like embodying main character syndrome in my life.
I also don't like that Chuck's like, I'm the most important, so I'd send Brad in first because that tells me what he thinks about me.
Also, these two childless dweebs are just like, I'm most important.
It's weird 'cause
More people would miss me.
I think if we had no way out, I would
Yeah.
get sick of the arguing and go in just to be
Sure,
away
sure.
from the
Yeah, yeah,
discussion.
yeah.
I will say, if we were kids, if the three of us were friends as kids, you know, we're all young, we're riding our bikes around town, we're putting, you know, baseball cards in our spokes, we're trying
Yeah.
to finger the ladies, we're having fun.
When did you start fingering?
I think that we're having a lot of fun and we're
Yeah.
pushing each other to do this kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, I
And
think
we all-
another
we're-
term our parents would say bad influence.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. Brad has one of those baseball hats that's up and
Oh,
high.
Brad's mom and dad wouldn't let us
No,
play with them.
no.
Brad,
of course
Brad
not.
has a backpack full of inhalers.
He would have to sneak out to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to the library again. You always come back with bruises from the library.
They're
Book fell on me.
They're good kids. I swear to God.
Oh, I wasn't allowed to swear to God. Come on.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I swear to turtles. Wait, what would you say?
I promise. I think I'd.
Well, I think the
said-
two of you would hang out because you guys would live in the same neighborhood,
Yeah.
most likely, economically. I live in a different neighborhood, economically.
And I'd be happy to come to that
and
neighborhood.
everybody would look at me as like the trouble kid, you know, because I come from the other side of the track.
I could see
No.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
You'd live in Dyer. It was called Frogtown at the time.
Yeah, I
On
live in
account of all-
Frogtown on Toad Hill.
On account of all,
Frogtown is
frog-
so new. It's funny.
Yep.
That's actually not a bad title either.
it's really different ends of the economic spectrum.
Truly.
No, I think that. I mean, let's put the cards on the table. We're all a little soft,
Mine are in my spokes.
but you know what I mean. Like we're all a little soft.
Sure.
You think you're braver than me, huh?
I mean, I'm not. I also, like a cowboy, he said it. You think you're braver than me, huh? Like you're going to start doing the knives on the table. Tack, 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 tack.
Well, first
through
of
the
all,
fingers.
I'm challenging you to a firework fight, and you're like, "Oh no, I'm scared. I don't know."
Sure. No, I think given our scenarios, we had a whole episode where we talked about the fact that like you didn't want to get out of the car, and I had to say to
Because
both of
I
you,
had.
do you want me to go
I'm
get
a
out of
busy
the
guy. I
car?
had things to do.
Okay, Craig, can you cut back to him saying like he was like clinically a pussy or something like that?
Bona fide.
Yeah, bona fide pussy. And let's check those bona fides right now.
And I, growing up as a bona fide pussy,
But no, so
bomb shelter or
no, that was-
townhouse.
townhouse. Yeah, it was a townhouse. It was a condo. There was
With a flooded basement.
Yeah, there was a twice divorced woman living
The
there.
real nightmare is the loss of resale value here.
Twice divorced woman.
The idea of a townhouse.
And,
all right.
and it was crazy. She was always muttering about how she wished she was a widow instead. But that kind of thing was always in me. I
Yeah.
wanted to explore those places. I became like a person like in high school that was like seeking out places to like go explore and stuff. And our
I
friends
think
would
that's
do
fun.
that.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
fun.
we would do that all the time. There was a fucking abandoned house in the woods behind my best friend's house.
Yeah.
And we would walk out there and like did the dumb thing where the place had clearly been trashed and parties were there.
Yeah.
So whatever was left to like hit with a stick We did. You know what I mean?
All right. I approve of that.
Okay. Stick hitting.
Yeah.
Stick hitting.
Stick it.
Yeah.
And things like that. But old buildings, stuff like that. And I grew up in southern Maine and New Hampshire, where there's a million mill buildings. And this was the story I thought of for this, because when I lived in Dover, New Hampshire, for a year and a half or so before I went to college, right? So think 18, right? Living with a couple other guys, having no business having our own apartment, of course. Barely.
Is this in your Arby's days?
Yeah. I don't like that. No, it wasn't during my Arby's days. The way you said it was like I used to weigh 600 pounds. It's your Arby's days.
It's so funny.
Brad, get me another beef and cheddar. And make it a beef and cheddar.
It's the same voice from Bubble.
Yeah, Bubble.
It's so funny.
The bubble's going to burst soon. Get me a beef and cheddar.
I love the idea of this podcast having these like snippets of all of our pasts.
Yeah.
And so then Brad's like, oh, your Arby's.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, my Arby's days before the beef bubble burst.
Beef Bubble. It's the sequel to
That's
Anus.
a number 6. No, so
We should touch
for
our beef
anybody
bubble.
for anybody coming in late on this. I worked at an Arby's when I was living in that apartment. So
He would trade roast beef for porn. Continue.
that's another story. You got to go back and listen to all this stuff. It's all in the omnibus. But the Funbus.
It's FUNMNIBUS.
And then there's a different one called the Omnipus, and that's different.
That's all the times we've been too scared to do something.
Yeah. So we lived in Dover, and Dover is like a mill building town, right? And there were these 2 big mill buildings that they're great. I love them.
Yeah.
Like if they transition those into condos, which they will at some point, they're offices now.
Yep.
I would live there.
Right.
One of them is literally over a waterfall.
Wow.
Like the actual building itself is built over it, like a bridge.
Yeah.
And those 2 mill buildings were open to the public, and one of them we would use as a shortcut to get to like the local convenience store pizza place that was there.
Okay.
A very New England thing of like, this is a convenience store and you can buy like beer and cigarettes and chips, but also there's like a little restaurant attached to it.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And you could cut through one of the mill buildings to get there. And everybody would do that. It's like offices and stuff like that. And then there was another mill building with like t-shirt printing and, design offices, like all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
And I had a friend that worked at the t-shirt printing thing overnight. So we would cut through the one, and we just started exploring the place.
Yeah.
We're like 18-year-old kids living a block away from this.
Right.
And it's like, 1 a.m. Let's go over to the mill building.
Yeah, right.
Let's walk around.
Yeah.
And that year, I would go over there, and I, like, middle of the night with a flashlight.
Yeah.
And I would just explore these 2 old mill buildings.
Never by yourself, though, right?
It started with groups. Then by the end, like I was comfortable enough. Like I would go on walks at night and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I would go to those mill. There were nights where I was completely alone.
Wow.
That's how you get jigsawed.
Oh, it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There would be moments where I'm deep enough into the exploration where I'm like, I don't know any of this. You know what I mean? Like I don't know any of this. Like I remember being in the basement of one of the mill buildings where it's like the dirt concrete
Ground?
No, not concrete, just dirt ground.
Yeah.
And like walking around and finding one door that was locked from the outside.
Ooh.
That was an inner door that didn't go to anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is creepy. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And just little things. You'd find this stuff over here. What's going on here? A lot of that. But it was just fun to explore. If it were daytime, I would have done it anyway because it was just neat to be in this old mill building that's been around since 1802 or something.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I loved it. Ended up on the roof.
Yeah.
Doing all that stuff. Never broke into like businesses or anything like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
But there's plenty of abandonment inside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very fun.
Yeah. One day, so I know those mill buildings very well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One of the highlights was getting. One of the things I wanted to do was like I want to get to where the waterfall part is.
Okay.
In that one mill building. one night managing to get down and find a way in without like breaking in or anything like that, but find access to that point where there was like a little metal grate walkway that went over that and water pouring out the side of that like area.
That's awesome.
I was like, this is amazing. This is a movie set, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I love doing that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
1800s kind of mill building. There had been fires at the mill buildings.
Yep.
People died, because they're just textile workers in a fire in the 1800s. Cut to one of the days, broad daylight, I am making the shortcut at the Waterfall Mill building to go. I'm coming back from that side of the downtown with like the convenience store and stuff like that. We're 18-year-old kids. That's our idea of grocery shopping, right? I'm coming back. It's that classic New England mill building, long hallway.
Yes.
With windows and lights pouring in. And it is late fall, early winter, right? Not Halloween time, past that. I'm at one end of that walkway, the hallway. At the other end, a woman dressed in 1800s clothing is walking towards me. Long mill building. At first, I'm like, oh, there's a lady in a big dress, right? And I'm walking, 18 years old. And as I'm getting closer, I'm like, that dress is not current. That dress is from like the 1800s. Her hair is the 1800s. Her makeup is the 1800s. This is an 1800s woman. And I'm looking outside. I'm like, there's no recreation thing happen,
it's
there's
not
nothing,
a Ren Fair day.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. And there was enough time because of this long hallway where I truly was like, is that a lady dressed up? Or is that a lady from the 1800s? Right? Genuinely, in my head, I'm like, is this what's happening? And it really did fuck with me. And so I get close enough, and I was like, if you're in that situation, right? You see an 1800s woman. You have spent hours and hours in these buildings.
Right.
You know it very well. You're very well aware of the time period that it is that the building is from, the history, the scariness, all that stuff, because you've been soaking in some of that fear every time you go into the place.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mormons.
Soaking.
That's the kind of fear I like, where you just get in and you're like, this is spooky, don't move.
Right?
Anyway, so like put yourself in that position. What do? Do you turn around and walk the other way, or do you just like keep going? What do you do?
I probably turn around.
Turn around?
I last night I went for a very late walk, and I was getting to the cemetery, and there were no lights, and I just went whoop, and I just turned the other way, and I got the hell out of there.
I think in the daytime, I'm more likely to stay the course. At night, I am Shaggy, and I'm
yeah. Well, I think it's fun that we've established now. Brad's more brave than you.
Well,
I
avoiding
turn around to grab my shotgun.
avoiding danger sometimes is the bravest thing of all.
I mean, when
Red badge of courage over there.
when Chuck had his office, he would have to leave his
God,
office
he would
and walk to
call
the
me.
car. He would call you, or he'd do an Instagram live video.
That's how me and Kenny became closer friends. It's my Instagram lives because I was so
Please
scared.
help me. Yeah.
Well, I did still go there.
Yes.
And experienced it on purpose
yes.
to build my metal.
Did it work?
It did not work.
Yeah, well,
No.
it might have.
So I stayed the course.
Okay.
I kept walking, and and in my head, genuinely, I was like, I have to know.
Yep.
Right. And so I went, "Hi, how are you?"
Yep.
Because I was like, they have to say, please say something.
And
back
she
to me.
floated through you.
She said nothing. Stonewalled me. Kept walking. It genuinely scared me.
Yes.
And we cross in the hallway, and as we're crossing like this far away, I went, "Hi, how are you?" And I didn't stop. I kept walking, and she didn't say a thing. She kept going, and I was so creeped out by that moment. I did stop. I turned around and I went, "Excuse me," and then she stopped and turned around, and I said, "You're in period clothing, and I've been walking this hallway up to you, and you have scared me. Please, can you just say hi?" And she laughed, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And it turned out she gives tours of the Mill building.
Oh, that's amazing.
No one knew. None of us knew that about the tours, but she laughed. But I needed this woman to say something to me because otherwise I was like, "That's a ghost."
That's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, first of all, you look at it from her perspective, where she's alone in the hallway with
Big
this
6'7", huge, handsome
18-year-old.
gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
Just and you can tell the way he's walking.
Is that Angus?
Huge penis.
He is. You can tell he's great at foreplay.
Yeah. He's got all those blankets.
All right, so you talk
No,
to
for her it's scary because it's a man.
right? And then you're like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
So you
Hi, and then she's like, "I'm not going to say anything," and then I go, "Excuse me, you need to talk to me.
Yeah.
You need
she's
to
telling
talk.
the story on
She's
her
like, I have a
podcast.
boyfriend."
But you know, so
I have a betrothed.
So this-
And you're like, no, that's worse. That's worse.
Yeah, I'm spoken for.
this happens, and you're like, oh, thank goodness, she's a tour guide, and you're like, oh, left my thermos downstairs by that door that locks from the outside, and you walk down the stairs, and that door's ripped off its hinges. And you're like, oh no.
Who has my thermos?
And then you think back, and she had your thermos.
You know what's funny? Imagine if you didn't take the step to say,
Yeah.
you need to say
Hey,
something.
excuse me.
What is that story to you now if that moment never happens?
Oh, I know. It is a scary moment where I go, she had to have been just a person walking around, but it was really spooky. But it was a moment enough where, like, there was nothing eerie about her.
Right.
Yeah.
Beyond the fact that she was a woman dressed for that period and not saying anything and not acknowledging me.
Right.
And I'm sure it was just like she got done with a tour and it's just like, oh, the 5 minutes I have in my own head. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was just walking. I wasn't rude or anything like that. The phrasing was not, I need you to say something. I
Right.
can't remember what I said, but I acknowleded, like,
Yeah.
you're dressed in period clothes.
Like, this is bizarre.
I just
Let's
had
clarify.
about 10 seconds of terror.
Yeah, exactly.
Walking up to you.
Yeah.
Because you kept walking and I kept walking.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. But that genuinely was a moment, because like I said, I don't believe in ghosts.
Right.
But that moment, I was like, do I? You know what I mean?
Oh,
it was so funny.
That would shake me to my core.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was a very funny moment. I loved that feeling of exploring those places.
Oh, that's the thing is, it's
I
so
really
much.
did.
It was really, even last week when I went to all these abandoned places.
Yeah.
it was this mix of fun and excitement with fright.
Yeah, that's why I don't wear a condom.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Fun and excitement mixed with fright. That would be funnier if I wasn't married.
Yeah.
Huh. How do I shift that? That's why I didn't. No, I don't like that.
Yeah, because because now it's your son. Yeah. So
My son doesn't wear a condom.
You shouldn't.
Is that a thing? He shouldn't.
so I have. I'm going to talk about a.
Oh, you're one of those. It just feels better, guys.
I'm going to talk about a specific place that I used to go to, and I thought Brad, being kind of like the teachery one of us,
Yeah.
maybe he could fill us in with a thing I found.
Well, really quick before you say that,
Yeah.
about abandoned
Yeah.
places and stuff like that. I genuinely, that always delighted me. I would seek out places like that. There's a phrase that's used for, there is a name for it, like urban
Urban
exploration.
exploration.
Yeah.
I hate the name. Love the concept.
Have you seen the-
I don't want to break anything. I don't want to take anything. I just want to be where I'm not supposed to be.
There's a abandoned around Disney World, abandoned water park that they used to have,
I would totally go there.
and people go.
Yeah.
And by the way, to me, like swimming and around Disney World feels like an alligator place. That's frightening.
Yeah.
Someone got eaten by an alligator at one of the water parks, I believe.
No, I think it was one of the.
Sam Marilla did a bit about it.
It wasn't the water park, but I think it was one of the like resorty areas.
Oh yes, that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So there's one that's abandoned, and there's a whole big video about the guy going through all the abandoned Disney park, and like
Love it.
It's so weird. The creepy stuff you find that cannot be explained.
Yeah.
Is like what? And I really like it.
I
but
just
hate
like it, and even taking the scares away. I like having access to a place like that. Like those, a ton of YouTube videos about like abandoned malls and stuff. every time I see something like that, I'm like, I want to be there. Though.
Yeah, I know.
I want to see the old Spencer Gifts that's not there no
I enjoyed
more.
the Last of Us DLC where you're Ellie and you go through the abandoned mall.
Yeah, that's fun.
really fun.
That is fun. It always strikes me. Maybe it's because this is an old bit that I had in stand up. Maybe it's because I should never label it and just do it.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But
He's
maybe
so clever.
Maybe it's because in America, abandoned buildings are the closest, abandoned commercial buildings are the closest thing we have to actual ghost stories, because we don't have enough history in the country.
Yeah.
What we have for ghost stories is we drive by a Spirit Halloween and go, that used to be a Staples. That's a bit
good.
that I did.
I like that.
But no, I really do
Me too.
love that exploration kind of thing. It's so much fun.
Me too, but as
Yeah.
a really brave person, I have the foresight to see it might be dangerous. So it is scary.
So I don't go in. I send a drone. It's Brad with 2 old school AA battery pocket fans for weapons, and he's like, and you're like, okay, go in.
I've got a body camera on,
Yeah.
and Chuck's
Yeah.
watching it on his phone.
And you go, like I picture a helmet with a GoPro. So you go, and you walk in. What do you see?
Well, you know what it's like? Think about
Water.
Think about
Rust.
General Washington, right?
Okay.
He was brave and bold, and he sent in the others to say, and he had a plan. You know.
Famously, one of the most famous images of George Washington is a painting. It's him standing at the very front of a boat crossing the river
that's a-
to like fight.
As a metaphor. The metaphor
He's at the front.
Yeah, what's the metaphor, Chuck?
that he's in charge. So go. So
I don't know if you understand metaphors or American history.
Neither.
All right, do you want me to be a teacher?
So here's the deal. There's a road in Bristol, Rhode Island, which
Yes.
is I grew up in Bristol, Rhode Island, and I live in Warren now, which is like I have a house in Warren now, and it's like the towns are so small that it was like Bristol, Warren. It's an integrated school system, so it's a very, very small town vibe.
So real fresh and new integrated
Yes.
schools.
Yeah.
No. I mean like
It was integrated the year before Chuck started.
no, I mean like it's 2 towns have one school system because the towns are so small.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, that's what I mean.
When I hear integrated school, I don't think, it's clearly two towns that are so small they share a school.
Yeah, that's what I mean. As opposed to having like a town high school, we have Mount Hope High School, which is Bristol and Warren's high school.
Got it.
Because the towns are so small.
The pictures before the integration, though, you see Chuck in the background, like shaking his fist and looking angry.
But
Yeah. Oh, there are some photos.
just like this.
There are some photos.
Yeah.
The day that they integrated.
It's me with my eyes darting back and forth, covering a water fountain.
Oh no.
I don't want any of those Warren kids together.
So anyway, as you know, Rhode Island has a lot of places that have names after like Native American. You know, we have like
Yeah.
Esquamacut and stuff like that.
Yeah. Some would say it's because, stolen land.
They
and
helped
whatnot.
us. And
Helped us. The Trail of Tears. Thanks for your help. Thanks. Hey, we're going to violently relocate you.
Thank you for watering this trail
Thanks.
with your tears.
Wow, that's a really nice mountain range you have over there. It'd be a real shame if some faces got carved into it. Thanks for your help.
they helped us. And
They
so-
helped us. I was just talking about this with my son at dinner last night.
Yep.
Mount Rushmore came up, and we went through a whole thing about Mount Rushmore, and I had to explain to my son that, like, some of the things that happened, and we got deep into it, and thankfully he's a great kid. He's very thoughtful and smart, and he understands a lot of that stuff.
Right.
And just for the heck of it, for the fucking smell of it, I looked up quotes from the 4 gentlemen who are on Mount Rushmore. And their views on Native Americans.
Ooh.
Wowzers.
Super progressive, right?
Abraham Lincoln, freed the slaves, sure. Also, responsible for the largest mass execution of anyone in the country, and they were Native Americans. Let's see. Old Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah,
Everybody loves Teddy.
Well, he got added because he was president when the funding came through.
Yeah, and Teddy happened to say, and this is an insane quote from a president. I don't believe the saying that the only good Indian is a dead Indian.
Well, that's nice of him.
I think 9 out of 10 of them, probably. And I'm a little suspect of that 10th. Thank you, President Teddy Roosevelt.
So
pretty horrible stuff. How did we take this turn? I'm sorry.
In Bristol, there's a road called Tower Hill that goes deep into the forest. And Tower Hill is near the Hoffenreffer Museum. And there's a lot of
Hoffenreffer? What is that?
Yeah, they gave a bunch of money to Brown University, and it's affiliated with Brown. It's kind of like a museum and a nature.
Who's Hoffenreffer?
I think it's a family.
They had a lot of money.
I think it's a family, the Hoffenreffers.
Hoffenreffer?
Yep.
I think so.
I don't like it.
And so,
Because it's like Hoffenpepper Incorporated.
Schlemiel
Schlemazel.
I always thought it was the same as that. I
Yeah.
never knew that as a kid.
Hoffenpfeffer.
I also think Hassenpfeffer is a German delicacy. It's like spiced rabbit.
I have some right here. And so they basically, deep in the woods, they have a museum that's dedicated to Native American history and the history of like Bristol and everything.
Yeah.
And Tower Hill goes through that land. And so I'm going to give Brad this to read, and it's about this area. So
there's been many, like when I was a teenager.
I mean, this is Pet Cemetery.
Many roads. Some of my favorite like spooky haunt things. There are many haunted road areas. There was one near where I lived where it was like you go down that road and it's that stupid urban legend stuff of like a kid drowned on that bridge. And when you go over that bridge, you see a hand. And if you see the hand, watch out. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
This is like, Brad's going to read it, but basically it is this like Native American land that they kind of like, I don't know if they kept it as like a reserve, but it is dedicated to the history of it.
It's weird because these are like photo captions that kind of describe what's going on.
Okay, yeah.
In that area. So a hollow at the base of a large granite, I don't know how to say this word, gneiss, Gneiss, outcropping on its west escarpment, and a white quartz outcrop on the east on the Mount Hope property of Brown University in Bristol, Rhode Island, is reputed to be King Philip's seat.
So King Philip was the head of this Native American tribe.
Okay.
Items found on the property confirm that the site was occupied by Aboriginal people for thousands of years. A large gate leads from the Hoffenreffer property to the seat about 200 yards away. The seat is a large quartz outcropping where people leave shells and other items to honor the Poe Metacom, King Philip. There's a photo of a 10th generation descendant of that tribe. King Philip is reported to have met with various Aboriginal councils and audiences at this site throughout the 17th century prior to the King Philip War.
So there's some cool history tied to
Right.
this. I
Sure,
think.
yeah.
And that's kind of it. There's a lot of click here for this video.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's the area right next to Tower Hill, and it's called Patumtuck. What is it called?
Your guess is as good as
Patumtuck. It says the seat of Metacom, which Metacom is another one of the. What is it? Is
Angel.
it like is it him? Is that his name?
Poe Metacom seemed like it was the I don't know.
Isn't the Metacom? Isn't that like the voice of God?
Yeah, I think that's Metatron.
Metatron.
Oh, Metatron,
Okay.
okay.
No, Metatron killed.
Megatron.
Oh,
Okay.
I hate this.
So that's the history of the Native American tribe that was there, and it was King Philip's throne, is what we always learned about.
Yeah.
So here, and just read this. This is Tower Hill Road, which goes through that land.
A trip down Tower Hill Road in Bristol in the dead of night is sure to make the hair on your neck stand up. But is there really something out there waiting in the dark? Tower Hill Road is said
Gary.
Tower Hill Road is said to be haunted by Native Americans who were killed during the King Philip War in the 1600s. Believers say ghosts can be seen charging over the hill, and drums can be heard in the area of the white X that is painted on the narrow road.
There's a big white X in the middle of the road.
Connie Ouellette, a ghost hunter, psychic, and owner of Magic Mirror Gift Shop in Bristol, by the way, no Oxford comma there, took a trip down Tower Hill Road a few years ago and said there was something there all right, and she didn't like what she felt. I remember walking halfway down the road and just stopping, Oulette said. I didn't want to go any further. All I could feel was chaos and death, like I was in harm's way. I felt like if I stayed there or kept going, that something could happen. Oulette said that in her years of ghost hunting, she has rarely felt that same fear, enough to force her to leave the supposedly haunted area. I don't know the history of that road, but you can feel negative energy and bad spirits there, she said. It felt like something bad had been done there, something inhumane, and it felt like there were many deaths. Oulette is not the only one.
This is a fucking woman going like, I feel like history happened here. And it turns out, wow, history happened there.
Well, here's the thing, Ray. Oulette is not the only one who has had a frightening experience on Tower Hill Road. Diane,
one time I saw a dog, but it looked bad and bad.
It was the spirit of a dog in the body of a cat.
One time I saw a squirrel there, and I didn't like the vibe of that squirrel. That squirrel looked evil.
Diane Gibbrey of Bristol
Always
admits
looking at me.
to having an open mind to paranormal activity and recalls one of her trips down Tower Hill Road with her daughter and some friends. We were parked on the road and the radio was acting funny, Gibbrey said, admitting that there was bad reception in that area anyway.
We were driving down the road, and then a thing that happens happened.
Tower Hill.
But me and a car full of giggling girls sat there in the dark with the windows open when we noticed the most peculiar fog that just followed the tree line. When it got to where the car was, it came up and almost made a form next to the passenger side door.
Almost.
And went back down. Then, all of a sudden, the girls in the back of the van started screaming because they saw someone looking in the back window. The poor girls were so scared, so I had to drop them all off at home. But when we opened the door, there were handprints on the back of the window.
That's scary.
It was creepy, but absolutely awesome. She said, not all experiences on Tower Hill Road are as active as the one she recalls. There were many times we went down there and just sat, but nothing happened, she said. If you want to see something, you have to be open to it, but you also have to realize that just because you don't see or hear something the first time doesn't mean it's not out there. Do you believe in ghosts? Have you seen or heard anything on Tower Hill Road? Share your experiences in the comment section below.
The trick is, what you need to do is you go to a spooky area that feels spooky after reading a lot about how spooky it is.
Yep.
And then you sit and you wait for random occurrences, and then as a human being who needs to put pattern and shape to chaos.
Paradoil? I don't know the word.
Paradoily?
Yeah, something like that. Two doilies.
Two doilies in the wood. One took a path.
Yes.
There's that place in every town. I feel like, are you upset now?
No,
because
I didn't get to my story yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not my story. My story isn't the thing.
Well, then what the fuck was that about?
That's so you can know what Tower Hill is.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that was like Tower Hill, and I mean the Native American history is real, obviously,
of course.
And then this was the place in town that was haunted.
There's so much. There is something funny about the idea that maybe it's more New England, but it has to be across the country, at least the eastern half of the country. There's so much like haunty stuff that when it's talked about in town kind of myth, it's Native American. There's an irony to the idea that like English settlers came here, slaughtered Native Americans, took the land, and now hundreds of years later we're like, oh, it's spooky out there.
Yeah.
Because of the Native Americans.
Well, this is, I mean,
it's just like
it's Pet Cemetery.
Right,
Pet Cemetery
yeah.
is that.
But it's like Native American is like shorthand for, oh no, magic, supernatural.
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
believed a different thing. You know what I mean?
I think that I mean, the way I took it was actually a different direction, which was almost like a consistent guilt. That's what I thought.
Oh, sure. I think there's guilt there for sure.
That's what
but
I
think
think
it's
it
an
is.
easy way to explain away where it's like they believed in, because they're, they're more grounded in nature and all these
interesting.
things. So spiritually, there's like more ability to fuck with things. It's the
that's
same
funny.
way.
See, to me, it wasn't necessarily that. Like, if there was any sort of like genocidal thing,
Yeah.
I almost look at it. What? Is it not genocide?
No, it's just a weird phrase. Any sort of genocidal thing.
Well, I just mean not specifically to Native Americans,
Right.
so like other
Yeah.
peoples. I feel like there is a sort of like your people did this, and so now this area is haunted, and you will feel the effects.
No,
of
of course. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff in like
Poltergeist.
a lot of war.
Oh yeah, poltergeist. Yeah.
A lot of war areas have a lot of that
that's what I
history.
mean.
A lot of like the line of where the North and South was
Yeah.
fought. Like a lot of that. Like
That's-
Virginia has a ton
that's
of
what I
like,
mean.
Civil War ghosts and stuff.
That's
you know?
that's what I'm thinking of specifically. Actually,
I think that's true, but I also think the more
you're right.
naturalist kind of spiritualism that comes with Native Americans lends itself to that.
You're right.
It's why pagan belief eventually turned into witches are bad, let's burn people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. No, that's totally true.
Yeah.
Even
Now,
with
but what
Pet
about
Sematary.
mummies?
Even with Pet Cemetery, though, it's like the drums, the tribal
get
drums.
our
Oh yeah. But it's almost at a level of like appropriation. You know what I mean? It's close to.
interesting.
I feel like it's a close thing of like. There's so much. This was native land,
So
and
for-
now it's a haunt.
So for Tower Hill in town, we knew it was near King Philip's throne. My version of growing up in town and hearing stories about it had nothing to do with like necessarily the Native American history.
Yeah.
It was just like a hand, whatever, the kind
Yeah.
of thing you were saying with the bridge. So, but it was the place you go and like take like a girl or like even just you and a bunch of your friends on
You
a
go
lake.
there to take a girl?
You go, and even like you and your
Or
bunch
you
of your
take a girl to it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And a bunch of your friends on a Friday night, you go there and it's supposed to be like you go to the white X, you stop on the X, you turn off your car, you count to what, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this different shit.
Yeah.
I like the idea that a paved road with a painted X on it, like the designers of the road were like, all right, we have to mark the most haunted space.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know what it is. Well, you know what it is? On this one, I think I know what it is. I think it was a utility company
Yeah.
was marking where
Well,
the
of course.
ground or something like that.
Yeah.
And there might have even...
There's like a fucking gas line under that spot or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And people are like, nope.
So
Philip spray painted it.
So I remember specifically going there, and it's weird because I totally forgot that we did this project. But back in the day, I used to just film projects for fun, like when I was in high school.
Sure.
And I filmed a bunch of projects with my buddies Jordan, Christian, and Lou. And one night we went there and we filmed a music video for the song "Kiss the Girl" from The Little Mermaid. And most of the video took place elsewhere, but we went to Tower Hill to film the finale. And I remember this is the time that I got scared from it. They actually scared. I let Lou and Christian out of the car. I went to go turn around, and my car completely died on the road, which never happened. And they were like a little bit up on the road, and I got my car started again, and I left, and I was leaving to go come back up because we needed this shot where that's what was happening, and I was like freaking out, very, very frightened, even though I know I'm like, this is just like a coincidence, obviously,
Sure,
in my
yeah.
head, but in the moment when you're there, you're scared. So that was kind of like my one experience that was like legitimately scary there. Right. The story is I went there with a girl I really liked. And the only reason we went there was because she said, I've never been to Tower Hill. And I said, I'm like, we can go. And like, I had a crush on her, who knows? You turn off the lights, you might do a little making out. I went up to she was in my car. We went up to the road and we were going like up to where Tower Hill is. And it's all rural, it's with homes before you get to the actual hill part. And she's like, you know what? No, I'm scared. I don't want to go. And I said, okay. And I went in a driveway to turn around and go back down. And then we went in the driveway and she said, you know what? I changed my mind again. Let's go. And I said, okay. And I started backing up and we just heard like a crazy squeal. And we fucking lost our minds. And it was like, have you ever seen on a mailbox, there's like a little lip on the front with a little metal piece? And it had scraped my window on the side.
Yeah.
And we flipped. And she's like, I don't want to go. And I got out and I looked and I saw it was the mailbox. I'm like, it's this mailbox.
Yeah.
She goes, I want to go. And I was like, okay. And this is the fourth time she's changing her mind.
Yeah.
And she goes, you know what? We were seniors in high school. We were 18. Very hot. And she said, I'm so sorry. Take me up there and I'll flash you.
Okay.
because she had changed her mind so many times.
So it was transactional?
That's what she said.
Oh, listen, I'm sorry. I didn't
ask.
I've been a real waffler over here, so
That's what she
I'll
said.
show you my teats.
Do the
That's what she
waffle.
said. So he went up.
Okay.
And like I can't really remember the exact like stop on this X, count to this, turn on your whatever the fuck that was. You know what I mean? There had
Show
to be
your
some,
left breast.
it was
Turn
like,
around 3 times, show your right breast.
It was rules you'd hear in like Are You Afraid of the Dark? You go
Yeah.
to this, blah blah.
Yeah.
So we did that. We went back to my high school and I parked and I dropped her off. And like
She had class.
and I was gonna we were both in high
This
school.
was yesterday, right?
And I was like, I'm not going to say anything about this flashing. She goes, all right. She's like, it's time to flash you. And I said, okay. And she did. And Brad reminded me of this the other day.
Because he flashed you.
He said, take me to Tower Hill, you piece of shit. I'll show you my anus flap.
I'll show you my Angus.
I'll show you my anus flap.
I didn't say Tower Hill.
Pulled
I
it- he
said
pulled it out of
teriyaki.
he pulled it out of the top of his pants.
There you go.
And I remembered that I looked at her do this and I said, think you have a good night. And she got in my car and she left. And it is one of the biggest regrets in my entire life that I did not take this as some sort of an indicator of interest. And I said goodbye to the moment and never really tried anything ever again or pursued her whatsoever.
Can I throw this out there?
Yeah.
I'm no child psychologist, but I feel like a girl or woman in this regard. I think it was a
Yeah.
girl, right?
18, yeah.
Yeah. Saying I'll flash you.
She's a little older than me, but not by much.
Okay. 4 hours. But no, I think that I would never see that as an indication of like, hey, maybe we could do some stuff.
Really?
To me, it feels transactional. It feels
shocking to
It
me.
feels like you probably want this, so I'll flash you. Like that's what it feels like to me.
Oh, I completely disagree.
Okay. Well,
What do you say, Brad?
viewer
Well,
listeners,
Actually, this is
Actually, she's right outside the door.
Let's
this
get
is
her.
this is actually.
she showed me her Angus.
I think this is a fun
just
way.
because I let her cut in line at Starbucks.
I think it's a fun place to end the podcast with a call to action.
Yeah, a Halloweeny call to action.
And I you know what? I don't want to muddy the waters, so I'm not going to say anything else about this situation yet.
Okay.
But please write in funbearablepod@gmail.com.
yeah.
Do you think that she was interested in me, or interested in some sort of?
Well, I think if
situation?
she's in your car and you're hanging out at night and doing this, there's some level of interest of some kind.
It was probably like a 2:00 in the morning on like a Friday.
Yeah, I think that part of it is there.
But
I-
did the flashing indicate a desire for hanky and or panky?
Hanky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Or was she like, whatever Ray said? You want
The
this, so
transactional-
transactional, whatever.
more transactional. Like I've known some folks over my time on this earth.
Ray's collected
That's-
some flashes over here.
That,
some
yeah,
flashbangs.
that's and that doesn't necessarily indicate like I'm down to clown.
okay.
You know, sometimes it's just you want to.
It sounds like you're a clown, and I'm not down.
She's up to club.
I don't
No,
know.
that one doesn't work. No,
Okay,
no, I don't
so
like it.
write in funbearablepod@gmail.com. What do you think? Was she giving me a little bit of an invitation, or was she saying, I'm not down for this station?
I think for like clinically, if we're looking at it, I think, look, I did this and I know I'm being annoying in this moment. So if you do that, I'll do this.
Right.
That is literally transactional. If you do this, I will do that. Is less of an invitation.
What if I reached
Jesus
out to her
Christ.
and asked her?
I thought that's
Do you
what
see
you were
how
teasing.
excited he is? This is a Halloween episode, and you are so fucking thrilled about this idea of this girl, an 18-year-old girl who flashed
Well,
you.
she's 39 now.
I know, but like, yes,
now.
Yeah.
but like someone who flashed you, and like, it's very funny to me. It's very funny. How about this? Write in if you have a like a local haunted thing. If you have a place where it's like everybody know you're rolling your eyes at this idea. Main character syndrome, so fucking bad.
you crazy?
You're terminal. You're terminal case.
Crazy.
I'm sane, my friend. No, but I do want to know. I want to know like the local area thing that people have. That's a
And
really fun.
what
one.
I would
Did you flash someone to get away from
What I
it?
would prefer to hear is, do you feel like you had a local area that you personally like felt like you experienced a scary thing?
Oh, sure,
Not just a rumor.
Sure, yeah.
Did you have an experience?
Yeah, why not?
You know what I
I
mean?
like that.
That's more fun, I think.
Wow.
And then we're going to get a story from someone that's like, back when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
I
wanted to bang this guy who was really cool.
I wanted to go to the haunted place.
I wanted to bang this guy who was so brave.
And I found this guy.
He shrieked when we backed into the mailbox.
And he couldn't make it that day, so I ended up with this other guy in the car, and I got creeped out about it. And he was such a bad driver; he almost knocked over a mailbox. And so I felt really bad. He clearly wanted to have sex with me. He clearly wanted to poke me with his little penis up on the scary hill, and so I felt bad. So I said, "Look, I'll flash you," because it's not like there's a history of women who feel sexually obligated. You know what I mean?
didn't make her feel that.
No, I know. I'm making a joke.
Come to think about it, his name was you. Damn.
Oh,
Eminem.
the end of Eminem.
Oh, that was good.
Thank you.
Stan.
Yes. Well, folks, yeah, we're happy to hear from you. Funbearable-pod at
This has
gmail.com.
been, this has
We're
been
all
a
over the
real
place.
cash episode.
Yes. Extra cash.
I think we outcashed ourselves.
Oh, yeah. We were like, yeah, we'll have time to get 2 episodes done today.
Cash for gold.
Yep.
187. No, that's Cars for Kids.
Yep. Write in funbearablepod at gmail.com. If you have a story that from this episode that you like and want to share it on social media, feel free to do so. Just tell some friends about it. Whatever you want.
The end of that was so passive aggressively
I am,
overly kind. Like
yeah.
it was the
okay.
vocal equivalent
It's okay.
of you bending your penis back and putting it inside your butt.
That's also something I can do, but only at the haunted place in
Only
town.
because of the lip.
Yeah.
Only because of the lip.
Thank you all so much for listening and
It's
or
like
watching.
a snake eating itself.
I'm Brad Rohr for Ray Harrington and Chuck Staten. Thanks so much, and we're sorry for being Funbearable.
Nice. That was great.
Doesn't bend that much.
That was really...